All roads lead to Sullivan Logistics Stadium this afternoon for Western Australia versus South Australia. This is the women's state match. South Australia, of course, coming off 2 consecutive wins over WA in 24 and 25 and are going for 3 on the trot. So playing in Western Australia holds no current fears. Can WA respond? A very good afternoon, as I mentioned. Your host, Dan Hobley, is with you. Our team this afternoon, first up, a man that has covered everything from British Open Golf in St Andrews, Susie Moroney's English Channel Swim, and has called over 1,000 games of basketball over his career and done many other things. He is Broken Hill's very own Mr. John Casey. John, a warm welcome to Western Australia for you. You're familiar with Perth. Great to see you back.
Great, Dan. Tremendous to be here as well. Good to get Broken Hill a shout out as well. I'm sure Tex Walker from the Adelaide Crows will be happy with that. But really looking forward to these games today. The competition between the WAFL and the SANFLW is strong, and it's a very keen rivalry, and certainly bragging rights up for grabs.
Of course there will be, and our secondary commentator, he is the host, of course, of Shark Tales. He's a very passionate WAFL man. He's an emerging talent. It's the official podcast of East Fremantle Football Club, of course, the Shark Tales. Hello, Ethan Roth. Lovely to see you, mate. This is going to be a massive afternoon of football.
Yeah, g'day, Dan. Privileged to be here next to you and John, of course. And yeah, WAFLW have never beaten the SANFLW in these games, of course, 2 previous matchups. So that'll be the challenge for Jack Schwartz's side, led by Jamie Harkin, who's captaining the state for the first time today. But of course, South Australia have won those 2 previous games for a reason, and both teams pretty experienced as well in terms of 6 players have played all of these state games for South Australia, just the 2 for Western Australia in terms of 2024, 2025 and now 2026.
We'll move on to some debutantes in a few moments' time, gentlemen. But John, I'd like to get clearly your picture, the fresh eyes on South Australia. They have been dominant in previous years. 2 questions without notice. Where does South Australia win it today? Where are their advantages? And how can WA find themselves in the game at a point where they can win it? How can they respond?
Look, I think they're very evenly matched, these teams, and certainly the WAFL team with a big edge and experience in terms of AFLW. I think there's, you're talking about 12 players or so and almost 200 games of AFLW experience, so that certainly is a huge edge for them. South Australia have brought a running team here. They're aware of the big confines here. Just 16 players on the field as well, as opposed to the men's game, so they've got to cover a lot of territory. So they'd certainly pick their side on outside run and being able to get up and down the ground. They've also got a couple of players who invariably kick goals as well, which is gold in these type of games when you consider maybe 7, 8, 9 goals is going to be enough to win. So, and in particular, Claudia O'Neill, who will play at full forward for South Australia, wearing number 27. She has a happy knack of being in the right place at the right time. She's a very strong, powerful overhead mark. So expect her to be a key today. And I know South Australia believe they've got an edge in the ruck, which is vital in these contests as well. And Soraya Moon is going to be all important. She, of course, was head-to-head with Lauren Quaife when these teams played last year and just got the edge on her in terms of hit-outs and clearances, and they are looking to try and expand on that and make good use of that advantage if they can get it again today.
How good a player live, John, is Zoe Venning? I mean, we've heard lots about her. She's a reigning 25 SANFLW F&B winner from West Adelaide. She's leading the competition over there in South Australia with 118 disposals. She just gets the ball for fun. Who goes to, well, not probably unfair to ask who goes to her from Western Australia, but how can she be stopped? Because clearly she's one of the best players in the country.
Without a doubt. I think it's not a matter of stopping her. You just have to try and curtail her input into the game because, as you say, she's a dominant force in the SANFLW women's competition, averages 30 disposals a game, but she also leads the competition in clearances and marks. She gets around the ground so well. She had 24 disposals and 7 marks against Nord last week in her club game. You mentioned she's the reigning McGarry medalist in inverted commas for the women in terms of the MVP and Team of the Year the last 3 years in the SANFLW women, so she's going to be a standout today, and I'm sure the Western Australian hierarchy will put a lot of work into her. You're not going to be able to control her completely, you just have to try and limit her influence.
4 players on debut too for SA today, John. Obviously a massive day for them, but exciting for all of their representative clubs. How will they handle the occasion, do you think? And I imagine the senior players will get around them.
Yeah, I'm sure that they will. And look, with those debutants, exciting times. And I think that's the buzz around this women's games and what exactly the excitement it brings. And just, it's new competition, but it's certainly exciting.
We swing to Western Australia, Ethan, and you've got your eyes all over that. I look at the midfield of WA. Can they get on top in that area? And when is enough enough? Obviously, South Australia being so dominant in the last couple of years, so they've been close enough games, separated by 16 points and 8 points, but it is time for WA from their perspective. I expect Jack Schwartz will be looking for them to dish out a fair but physical contest.
Absolutely, and I think getting the ball is not an issue. You look at the game last year, Lisa Stain got 28 disposals to take out the best on ground, Crystal Petrovsky 23, and no players from South Australia actually reached that mark last year, getting 20 disposals, but obviously they went on to win the game. So I think the likes of those familiar names who are very used on this ground, Crystal Petrovsky, Lisa Steen, who play, of course, here for Subiaco in the WAFLW, as well as some running players. Natasha Entwistle played in the 2024 state game, didn't play last year, but in some really good form at South Fremantle. She'll run across half-back today as well and spend some time in midfield, as well as Paige Shepherd, another player who's come across in recent times, who's spent some time at AFLW level with the Sydney Swans. So, yeah, a well-balanced side, I think, for West Australia, and I think they're as good as chance as they've ever been.
So we'll just wait on a team photo on screen there between both captains. We'll wait on the anticipated toss, of course. Great to see the camaraderie, John, between both of these sides and Ethan. But they'll be on for young and old. The coin does go up. We'll wait on it. Looks to me like Western Australia kicking to the left-hand side of your screen. So an early win there, John, for Western Australia. That's a positive sign for them. Jamie Harkin has won the toss, and Western Australia will kick to the northern end of this beautiful ground here in Perth.
It is in fact a beautiful ground and great to be here. It's such a historic place, and of course the conditions near perfect as well. There's not a lot of breeze about at the moment. We saw in the under-18 versus under-20 West Australian game played previously where teams were kicking goals at both ends from outside 50. So if anything, the breeze is probably pushing just a little bit to the northern end, but if you're kicking goals from outside 50 at the other end, it gives you an indication that shouldn't be an influence. And winning the toss might give you a nice vibe to start with, but I don't think today it's going to be much of an advantage in terms of being able to kick to the end that you want.
John, just quickly, how good is this side? Back in April, my understanding of this year is that South Australia have knocked over the WAFLW, and they're in that position of where they are, in my opinion, the most dominant women's state side in the league, quite clearly. How important is it for this squad to, well, I suppose take advantage of that and stamp their authority on the game today?
Well, Dan, as you mentioned, undefeated against WA. It was a 2-point win against Victoria last month at Glenelg Oval in South Australia, and they came from behind to do that. And I thought their coach, Narelle Smith, did a very good job of thinking her way to victory there, because the Victorians, well, they were on top for a large majority of the game, but they changed a few things late and were able to get it back on their terms and get the result. So I'm hoping we get a higher scoring game than we saw last month. It was 3-2 in favour of South Australia over the VFL, but this should be a ripper.
Not too far away. Football at its best. The state games, South Australia and Western Australia. Pausing for a couple of moments here. Broadcast about to get underway. Here is John Casey.
So the SANFLW women's team up against the Western Australian Football League women's team. Bragging rights up for grabs, and we are set to go. From Sullivan's Logistics Oval at Leaderville. Toss in the air, neither ruck could get an effective tap away, and you can tell that it's going to be a tight contest straight away. The umpire's going to have plenty to do, so Soraya Moon resumes a battle here with Lauren Quaife as they go at it again. Moon wins the tap into space. Handball down low coming there from Entwistle. Bustling through Shepherd, did well. And a chance for WA to go forward. Loose ball now. South Australia, quick hands there from Tentai. Expect her to be prominent this afternoon. Freem with the kick there, but it's picked off. Cut out here by South Australia, and it's Ballard who goes in the middle of the ground somewhat dangerously. Couldn't complete the mark there was Latia Juan, and it opens the door now for WA. The handball forward from Harkin into space. They move it inside the attacking 50, running onto it here to Hakarina. One way, back the other, spins. Not a best effort off the boot, but it's still heading in the right direction. Latching onto it here is Greenwood. Can she get the first goal of the game? She has. It's taken just over a minute.
Yeah, great finish there by Greenwood. And to bring you in here, Heath, before you start your commentary duties. Just real dogged play there from WA, I thought, from the centre wing position. They did everything possible to get it forward, but Greenwood had to finish, and from 20 metres out around the body, she got the lucky bounce.
Very used to this ground, Lucy. Greenwood plays here for East Perth in the WAFLW, and yeah, an ideal way to start your state debut. First kick, first goal, so dream start for the home side here as WA get on the board. One straight leads the SANFL yet to score in the opening stages of this one. So we're going to get back into the middle from the outset once again. Great crumbing goal there from Lucy Greenwood. East Perth, small forward, so back in the middle again. Quaife gets a good jumper at Moon. Hand pass to no one really. Had to go again herself. Here's Henry, who's averaging a walloping 34.5 disposals a game this year in the WAFLW. So no doubt extra motivation for her to continue on. Steen out wide, goes back to Jamie Henry. Keen to play on this broadcast side. Wanted Petrevski, who was outnumbered there by a couple of SANFLW players, and Tentai has no choice but to use the boundary line as her friend. So good start here for Jack Schwartz's side. Boundary throw-in on this broadcast side here at Sullivan Logistics Stadium. Great to have your company on YouTube, on the Waffle official channel. So boundary throw-in once more. Moon nudged her opponent fairly under it. A couple of players circling at half forward. Henry again in the middle of it. Umpire eventually calling the whistle for a ball up. Going to be a fascinating midfield battle for all afternoon. Quaife goes for the double tap. Again, Henry in the thick of the action. Tentai, umpire said you had no prior. Petrevski just has to backtrack, then gives it to Quaife off a standing step, sends it inside 50. Run of the jump, courageous effort in the air. Landed okay. Shannon gets her first disposal of the game. Petrevski towards the tip of the goal square, but South Australia chopping it off there. They just need to get a bit of composure to start this one. It's been WA all so far.
Talita Bwethke clears the danger zone for the SANFL women's team. Moon couldn't complete the mark. Ball in dispute here. Wrestling away through the tackle there. Petrevski been prominent so far. This is good work from WA. Just getting it on their terms for the moment, but free kick going the way of South Australia. And Alice Tentai has come up with it. Plays for the Eagles in South Australia. Had 18 disposals, 7 tackles in the win over Victoria last month. Was very good in that game. A bright future for her. Here's Jamie Harkin driving WA forward once more. The hot spot. Numbers back here for South Australia. They've got some defending to do. Falkenberg, the captain. Her kick just opened the door for WA a little. Good contest out there. Well done, Crooks. See the pressure really affecting the way that South Australia trying to move the ball here. Credit to WA. They have brought the heat here, and it's been impressive.
Great tackle there by Isabella Shannon, applying the pressure. Ball just remaining on the brink of the centre square, so it's thrown up once more. Moon and Quaife doing battle, and that ball's not going to go anywhere before another ball up.
Won't surprise you, gentlemen. WA dominating possession 23-10 at this stage, so South Australia just can't get their hands on the footy.
Moon, another hit out to her name. Comes the way of South Australia through the corridor, but it's all West Australia through the player in Sergeant Wilson, her first year in the WAFLW, former Sydney Swan. It's going to be a 50-metre penalty coming the way of Holly Britton, so that'll take her into goal-scoring range on state debut. So Lucy Greenwood on state debut kicked a goal, and Holly Britton from the Perth Football Club has an opportunity to follow a similar suit here from almost directly in front. She'll take the set shot, and a bit of a brain fade there from South Australia, just conceding the 50-metre penalty, but this to get it out to 2 goals clear. Holly Britton been a ball magnet all season for Perth in the WAFLW. Expect this to sail through, but it just fades late, and they do score their first behind. They go out to a 7-point lead early stage of this one as South Australia bring it out of their back line.
That's a 50-metre penalty. In the SANFL, we play with the 25-metre penalty. You can see how expensive it can be for small errors like that. Well, in WA, we play with the WA rules, though. Here's a chance for WA once more. Sergeant Wilson in space. Nice kick. Uses the target well there. Britton looks up into the pocket. And they've moved that ball nicely. They've got South Australia on the ropes here at the moment. The mark's been taken by Isabella Shannon. She can go back now. Tight angle. Kick the first goal of the game at the Adelaide Oval last year, Shannon. She'll take her best effort from the tight angle. Can't get it on target the way she wanted. It's another minus score, but they're doing all the attacking at the moment. It's been a very impressive display so far. 5 inside 50s to none.
Narelle Smith won't be panicking too much, you don't think, in the coach's box, but of course it's been WA so far who have come out all guns blazing, 8-point leaders. The mark's taken overhead there by Winky. Goes up towards broadcast side wing. Player circling there was Lee from Glenelg. Umpire says play on. Trying to break through was Webb and has to just settle for the ball up. Mac Webb.
You don't want to be too critical, gents, but Western Australia, okay, they've been tucked up in the pocket for one of those kicks, but Britain had to goal that second attempt for WA. 1-2 at this stage. Could come back to bite them.
Crooks went for the kick. That was impacted. Harkin, the WA captain, circling. She's got an extra number there, and Britain, if she can get it out to her, tried to do everything and eventually did get it out, but umpire says illegal disposal. Good pressure there from Martino, who's one of the more experienced players playing all games in the short history of these state games. Goes across the ground after a backtrack a little bit. South Australia at the moment, and shipping ball in the direction of Riggy. Trying to break through again. WA pressure impressive at the moment. Henry over to Harkin. Has time to assess her options. Lowers the eyes. Went in the direction of Stockwell. Clean pick up. Poppy Stockwell around the corner. This would be ultra impressive. Can she sneak it through? She can. Celebration tells the story, and WA have come out all guns blazing.
Yeah, brilliant goal there from Stockwell. She's a club FNB and leading goal kicker for South Fremantle back in 2024. She is just a gun around goal. John, she also offers just a bit of that robustness that WA need up on that forward line, and she did turn on the 5-cent piece there and kicked a very important goal for WA. Western Australia absolutely dominating. They've had 7 inside 50s, gentlemen, and South Australia, as we've seen, haven't been able to get it past the centre circle. It's concerning at this stage for South Australia, with WA starting well.
They've certainly started well. Great finish there from Stockwell. That's a quality finish. She's kicked goals in 3 of the 5 games she's played this season for Perth. I know she's a good cricketer as well at the state level. And it's one of those 12 players who's got AFLW experience in this game. Almost 200 games experience, and she showed it there. So it's been a dominant start here by the home team at Leederville. Trust you're enjoying our coverage wherever you may be watching around Australia and beyond. The SANFL women's team with their hands full at the moment. And full credit to WA because they have bought it to start with. They won the toss, kicked to the left of screen with a slight advantage of the breeze, but right now it's all about intent and want and getting after the ball. They're being proactive first to it, and again they are there. Handball cross. It's a chance now for Entwistle. One way, back the other. Little undecided. High ball. Again, South Australia on the ropes here at the moment. Forced to do plenty of defending. Stalemate develops. Umpire comes in and says, I'll have it. 9.5 minutes played in this opening quarter.
WA searching for their third. 14-point lead as it stands, trying to break through South Australia. Again, WA have the numbers over the top. Quick kick from Entwistle, trying to size up Stockwell, who was a bit too much over her head, and that'll be an interesting decision there. See where it's paid, and umpire goes benefit of the doubt to say throw it in off the boot of the South Australian defence. So dangerous position though for WA to search for their third goal. Ball thrown back in. Having to do the ruck work was Lindgren. Stays in the vicinity for now. And hacked out there, but it's all WA, and they're set up so well. Clean pick up there from Frame. Long hand pass over the top to Shepherd. Shepherd off a standing step goes in the direction of Stockwell, who's taken a ripper. And she's feeling it in this first quarter, just floating in nicely from the side to time her run magnificently, and she can go back to slot her second and WA's third.
You can see WA, gents, have always got 3 players just guarding the corridor, guarding that exit 50, and it's just making it awfully hard for South Australia to get any clean disposal to exit with, because as soon as the ball is coming out, there's a hint of panic, John, there from South Australia when they are disposing of the ball.
Well, they're certainly on the ropes at the moment.
So Poppy Stockwell, as you mentioned, John, been in really good form in the WAFLW. Kicked 3 goals last week against East Perth. Former Docker, who's making the most of her opportunities so far today, and that one to the right-hand side. So a little bit of inaccuracy, but nonetheless, hard to fault the WAFLW at the moment.
9-0, the inside 50 count. as SANFL women's team restarts. Good mark from Soraya Moon. That's what they need, someone to stand up and be strong and get some go forward, because at the moment WA have got all the answers. Up to centre wing, slap forward, Winky in traffic, handball backwards. Benning gets involved, wrestles away through a tackle and given the benefit of a high one there, so a free kick. Plenty of activity ahead of her, but nothing she quite likes at the moment, so she's going to kick for distance. Pack develops, Winky, quick hands like that. Get the ball going forward now, WA with some pressure on them. Sergeant Wilson is there, standing firm. Gets the ball away from the danger zone and Harkin comes up with it. Wants to get on with it quickly. Out wide. Going back with the flight. Good grab out there as well. Entwistle, she gets on with it quickly and farms it further, and this is Lindgren with it.
Courtney Lindgren, again, no stranger to this ground. Subiaco and formerly East Perth before a stint at the West Coast Eagles in between. Up towards half forward, inside 50, good mark in from the side there by South Australia. They need to get a bit of field possession at the moment. Inside ball, just fumble there. This is an opportunity for the visitors to get a bit of ball move. This is about as far as they've got it so far. There's absolutely no one home, and a great tackle there from Timmermans on the number 23 player in King, who probably just took one step too many ahead in front of her. Sargent on the rebound. Greenwood just didn't attack the ball, but luckily got enough of a push to be deemed a free kick. They've got the number over the top in Shepherd. Shepherd just waits for the cavalry to get back for a low ball, which didn't get the purchase she was after whatsoever. Again, though, WA have strong numbers. Hand pass combining there. Lindgren wanted Kelly, Juliet Kelly, who's on state debut as well today. And just a slight fumble there from Steen, but had enough time to go for the long handball over the top, and in the end, boundary line, not the worst result in that passage of play for South Australia.
Speaking of handball, 24-15, and I've noticed that the handball has been used quite effectively by WA. They're looking to free the arms and free that space, so not all kicking, using the handball well, and South Australia unable to quell that at this stage.
And being in WA, we're playing with those WA rules in terms of last disposal out of bounds as well, whereas the SANFL, it's all through the ground rather than between the arcs. I tend to like that a little bit more and think that it gets the ball moving freely, but smarter minds than mine are in charge of all that. This is Dakota Williams. I've loved the heat that WA are bringing here. The tackling has been fantastic, and as a result of that, South Australia just finding it difficult to go forward at any stage here. Moon wins the tap once more, gets it to the advantage here of Halfpenny. Had a great week last week, Jade Halfpenny, 41 disposals to Norwood in the SANFL women's competition, but they're standing strong in defence as well as being creative in attack, WA, and they're out of the danger zone again. Holly Britton on the half volley, turns now, cutting across their 10 tie, was brave in the contest, took one high, wins the free kick. Certainly can't complain about her input so far. Halfpenny. Now it's opened up across ground for them. One just couldn't get there. That was well read. Well played from Harkin once more. And look at the rebound here for WA. The mark and the run from Shannon. Gets it on quickly. The kick, though, not a best effort. Didn't really favour her forwards. And Falkenberg, the captain from SA, comes across and takes the mark.
Leading by example, takes a bounce and assesses her options. Goes the corridor. Has the lead there of Venning, who is the reigning SANFLW Best and Fairest winner. Again, outnumbered, but they make a good contest of it to South Australia. Smothered off the boot was important there by Quaife, and WA on the rebound through Shepherd. Received it from Harkin inside 50. Greenwood's the biggest target, which any time that is the case, she's going to be up against it. Nice mark there taken by Madigan. So South Australia just looking to spread it in the direction here of Martino. Over the top, players coming from both directions, and Henry's had a superb first quarter, which is no surprise considering her recent form. Was overlooked yet again in the pre-season AFLW draft, so no doubt some extra motivation on the big stage today. A couple of bites of the cherry there for Lindgren. Was called to play on outside of the boot. Wasn't conventional whatsoever from Petreski, but it might just work, and sometimes fortune does favour the brave, and they're assisting to a more central position where Harkin can take the mark, and it wasn't conventional, but Shannon just recognising she had a skipper inboard, and Jamie Harkin could go back and have a set shot from a similar position from some of her teammates, but this time she'll be looking to rectify.
Just getting back to Jamie Henry, just quickly, 7 disposals, so she's one of the leading players on the ground for WA.
Jamie Harkin has decorated the player as they come in the WAFLW. Bit of a floater which doesn't stay in, eventually trickles over the boundary line before Shannon could save it. So again, WAFLW doing another bit of scoring, but they're not converting how they'd like, and a team like South Australia, you've kind of got to put them away, you'd think.
3 genuine opportunities there for WA that have been kicks on goal, so that'll be something that Jack Swartz will be speaking about, no doubt, at quarter time.
14-1 inside 50 count, and they're back at it again. They're bustled as she kicked their Harkin, and that affected the accuracy, so it goes through once more. But they are doing all the attacking at the moment. We played almost 17 minutes here in this opening quarter. 2 goals, 5-17, the WAFL women's team. SANFL yet to score, and have had just that one inside 50. And the only thing keeping them in it at the moment is the conversion rate from the WA team. A couple of very gettable goals that have become behinds here for them, but they've got holding all the aces at the moment. At the coalface there, Crooks trying to farm out the handball. But again, the hustle and the desire from WA has been impressive. Pack develops top of the goal square. Again, South Australia forced with plenty of defending to do here. Petrevsky in over the back of her opponent, going nowhere. Annie Falkenberg, and the umpire says, I'll have it. 17.5 minutes played in the opening quarter. SANFL men against the WAFL men to come after this game. Quickly off the boot here, Petrevsky looks good off the boot. It is, and WA have kicked the first 3 goals of the game.
Yeah, great finish. It floated the whole way through the air, but you would have seen the umpire in position and in a great position. Did not move an inch. And the ball floated over their cap. Of course, Crystal Petrevsky, 2 times F&B winner for Subiaco in 24-25. So she's a class player, and that's a much-needed goal, Ethan, for WA. Mostly to cap off the hard work. They've done all this labour-intensive inside 50s. They've not necessarily failed kicking on goal, but that certainly makes it a little bit sweeter going to quarter time.
Certainly does. 23-point lead, which is very impressive, and they've held the SANFLW scoreless at the current time. Last captain in the outfit today, Crystal Petrevsky, so leading by example. And we're back in the middle once more, trying to grab it cleanly. There was Williams. Quick kick again, little clearance coming up for WA, trying to break through there. Tentai, superb stuff. Trying to honour the lead of one of her forwards. Bounce doesn't suit SANFLW whatsoever. Good clean pick up there by Sergeant Wilson. Sergeant has to look back inboard and go for the chipping ball. Didn't see opponent coming in from the side. Did Johnson, and she'll be caught holding the ball. That's what Winke and her teammates have to do a bit more often if they're to mount and come back in this one. Still early stage, of course. They look to spread across the ground. And misfiring there with the handball. Luckily, Martina had a bit of time to give the 1-2 back. The direction there of Morgan. Good mark taken there by Tentai. And a bit of synergy is what they're searching for. Inside 50. Standing underneath it really well was O'Neill. Couldn't quite grab it cleanly. The Crummers came. And they might just try and lock it in the latter stages of this one to give themselves one last chance. A couple of players dive on top of it. Ball's not coming out of there anytime soon.
Might be a lot of time left on the clock. Almost 20 minutes played here, so into time on in this opening quarter. Desperate for a goal here, the SANFL women's team. They haven't had a lot to get excited about, but a late goal would certainly give them something to build on, but it's going to be cleared here. Steen, her kick out wide, just a little too much on it for Holly Britton, who turns now. Good contest. Well done there by Marie Martino. She was hard at it, but WA win it back once more. Petrevsky in traffic. They work it nicely. Greenwood gets involved, quickly onto the boot. High ball towards centre half forward. No one can complete the mark. Shoveling it out there, Shannon trying to get it into the open spaces. Quickly onto the boot here of Steen. No direction with the kick though. SA get back quickly. Holly Eifold from South Adelaide. Oh, high contact there. Let's hope that Lucy Greenwood's okay. It appeared to be a clash of heads. Siren in the background. Quarter time arrives here, and it's been a very impressive display here by WA, who lead at 3-5-23. The SANFL scoreless in the opening quarter.
Yes, we wouldn't have seen that for a long, long time. Western Australia have made an absolute fantastic start. We'll go to quarter time, 3-5-23. The SANFL yet to score. Be back with the stats, the goal kickers, and the assessment of this first quarter of state action. Back after the break.
Brilliant start from both teams. Before we get back into the action, we remind everyone to stay safe and respectful of the oval during the breaks.
Large mode. Oh, did we just become best friends?
Kia. Movement that inspires.
Smell rotten eggs indoors? That could be a gas leak. Leave the area and report it to ATCO on 13 13 52. Now you know, you're good to go.
They could have made it round.
Let's have a ball.
Instead, they made a swinging pendulum of luck.
Let's have a day. We'll do the rock. We'll do the ball. Let's have a ball. Don't tell
When the bounce serves you a clanger,
Lucky you're with Amy.
All the way west. You can't drive there. It lives in us. It's having skin and heart and nerve in the game. It's letting them hear you, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. All the way west is driving 6 hours every home game. It pushes us onwards, upwards, sideways and together. All in? That's just the beginning. We are all the way west.
Looks like I need a little TLC. Trust me, you don't want to see this.
Gas appliances should be serviced every 2 years. Now you know, you're good to go.
Large mode. Oh, did we just become best friends?
Kia. Movement that inspires.
they could have made it round.
Let's have a ball.
Instead, they made a swinging pendulum of luck.
Let's have a day. We'll do the ball. Let's have a ball. Don't tell you.
When the bounce serves you a clanger,
Lucky you're with Amy.
A warm welcome back to Sullivan Logistics Stadium, of course, here in beautiful Perth. It was a wet morning this morning. I was out and about having a walk with the dog. There's a little bit of rain around, but it's cleared up. Some clouds to the east. And that first quarter, well, it was unexpected, if I may be honest. Western Australia 3-5-23. South Australia, I'm quite stunned, have been left to be goalless. Goals to Greenwood, Prepetsky for Western Australia, and of course Stockwell has got one each. John, I look at South Australia, they seem to have plenty of fuel left in the tank. WA a little bit wasteful in front of goal, but how do you see that first quarter?
Oh, completely dominated by WA, and full credit to them. They were proactive, they were hard at it, their speed of ball movement was impressive. They caught South Australia, put them on their heels to start with, and then never let them back into the game. It was super impressive, and when you consider they kicked 3-5 in that opening quarter, it really could have been 6 goals from the chances that they had. But that's given South Australia a huge job to do from here. And just thinking that last month against the VFL, South Australia only conceded 2 goals. When these teams played last year, they conceded just 4 goals to WA. When they first played at Optus Stadium here in 2024, they conceded only 5. So to concede 3 at quarter time is really unlike the South Australian team, and I'm sure Coach Narelle Smith had plenty to say there. Let's hope that they can work their way back into the frame.
Ethan, WA obviously very impressive for the start. I'm waiting for South Australia to really bolster and put WA under that heat. Where do you see the game progressing from here?
Yeah, I mean, 23-point lead at quarter time to WA, I think they would have taken that in a heartbeat. Been a little bit inaccurate, but can't be too picky, of course. And yeah, SANFLW have to just put that behind them now and start again, which sometimes can happen after the break. So hopefully that's the case for the visitors and Narelle Smith's side.
Not too far away from the second term, of course. The WAFLW side leading 3-5-23 to South Australia, yet to score. Here's John Casey.
Second quarter action underway. Lauren Quaife had the better of Soraya Moon in the ruck so far. Hit outs 9-4 in favour of WA. So it started right at the coalface, and they haven't let South Australia get anything going at all at the moment. Hard work again by Tentai, arguably South Australia's best so far. Her 9 disposals in that opening quarter was an equal game high, along with Harkin and Henry and Petrevski. Overall disposal count 94-57 at quarter time. It gives you an indication of just how good WA were, and full credit to them. Moon back at it game, wins a decisive tap. Now they're starting to move it a little better, and the run comes off half back there, but a good tackle. Well done there by Entwistle, just holding up the South Australian attack as Kobe Morgan was charging through. Now the umpire says, I'll have it once more. Quaife and Moon. Moon gets the tap, but again it's WA who are able to shark it. Entwistle clears the danger zone.
Britain takes the mark just in front of us here on the broadcast side. Lowers her eyes again, goes in the direction of Greenwood. Good to see her. She's back on the field after copping a nasty hit there towards the latter stage of the first quarter. There's a whistle coming the way of Tentai, or rather it's Lingren who didn't realise it in the first place. Courtney Lingren just shy of half forward flank. Not a real obvious lead on offer. Shannon's the deepest forward at the moment, so just pops it up to give one of her forwards a chance. Through the hands there of Moon. Mobbing up there was Martino. Cross half back. Have to be careful with it through Ballard. Couldn't quite hit the target. It bounced. Just favours WA ever so slightly. Long hand pass over the top there from Harkin. Had to attack it as if it was a marking contest. It's Shannon. And Greenwood locks it in for WA. So started this quarter, but they'll be looking to capitalise. Lingren does the ruck duties, playing that forward ruck role for WA, and again, ball doesn't move too much whatsoever.
Just so critical that South Australia don't concede a goal here, Ethan.
Neither rucks can really have too much of an impact. Goes towards Shepherd and Tentai, the latter playing from behind. Britain gave it to Henry, who was on her favourite left side, but holding free kick coming the back of the way of South Australia, and they're eager to move on towards the number 20 in Lee, who attacks it well, couldn't quite stick the mark. Tentai has to go outside of the hand. Interesting decision there. Clean pick up. Well done there by Anderson, who kicked that goal to win the game. Ended up winning the game against the VFLW by 2 points. So she's no stranger to big moments. Hand pass there combining with Moon. Smothered again. A bit of chaos footy to start this second quarter. Flynn plays from behind. Sargent might have copped a high free kick. Umpire says, I'll have it.
Certainly like that movement there by Anderson off that half-back. Look, she looked to create. The school teacher outside football, doing good things.
Rucks at it once more. Coming through Tentai. As soon as she took possession there, she was wrapped up by Jamie Henry. Tackling's been outstanding from WA in this game so far. 33-18. That tells you about desire and getting after it, making things happen. Well done, Soraya Moon. Takes it out of the ruck, bangs it inside the attacking 50. Coming out to meet it there is Kiana Lee. Nothing doing there. Again, WA, they get the handball going through Jamie Henry, out wide. Harkin. Now they move it to the advantage here to Hakarina. He wants to run on with it. Only 157 centimetres of it. Smallest player out there, and a kick is astray, and it's taken here by Ballard, who looks to relieve some pressure. I like the confidence of the SANFL women's team. They're happy to come back into the corridor and take it on and present some opportunities. Quinn out wide. Now a chance for the run here of Mel Anderson, who looks inboard. She's got players available. This is Briggy. Briggy over the top. Handball's a slow one for Claudia O'Neill. She's going to wrestle away through one tackle from 48 and closing top of the square. Oh, she got a fingertip on it there, but couldn't control the mark for South Australia. But we've got 4 minutes into the second term before South Australia get their first score of the game.
22-point ball game. Teakle playing her role in the last line of defence. The East Fremantle captain, just 19 years of age, and is a WAFLW captain, which speaks volumes of her character. Out of the back half, Steen had to take a bounce, runs her full measure, has nowhere to go, was really in two minds the whole way, trying to pick it up is Falkenberg. Ball just ran in the corridor. Good handball there. Kelly receives it from Harkin. Kelly just has to wait for the cavalry to arrive. Lindgren over the top. So too is Greenwood. There's a foot race on. If the support can come for WA, that'll help. And keeping her feet was Greenwood the whole way. Dribbling ball is a beauty. She's kicked her second, and WA enhanced their lead. Outstanding stuff, Lucy Greenwood.
Greenwood there again when it matters. And she's tearing them up. Just finds a little bit of space. And she didn't need a lot to do that damage. It's now some real alarm bells going off here for the South Australian ladies. 4-5-29. It's going to be a long hill on the climb back. John, they've gone down to 28 points. They need to get moving in the midfield. I think they've moved the ball off half back a little bit better. And they're bringing the ball through the midfield. But as soon as it's turned over, WA are getting some scoreboard pressure happening.
Yes, they've been the far more efficient team so far, illustrated by this goal from Greenwood. South Australia with an opportunity at one end, unable to convert, and then Greenwood did it intelligently. And how about the neat finish as well, outside of the boot. She's got her second. Impressed with her. She's only kicked one goal at club level in her 6 games for East Perth this season. In the last 4 games, she's had 20-plus disposals. She's been very effective, improving it again here. So, big challenge now for South Australia. 4-5-29, WA leading the SANFLW women's team 1 behind. They cannot afford to concede the next goal. Wrestling away through there, Venning, dispossessed in the tackle. And again, WA first to pounce. Kelly, handball out wider. They keep the ball rolling forward any way that they can. Now a chance for South Australia as Kobe Morgan gets involved. Likewise, Crooks. All in dispute. Umpire says, I'll have it. We played 6.5 minutes here in this second quarter, and WA well on top.
Ball's in their half-forward region at the moment. They're looking for goal number 5. Petrevsky second to the ball. Umpire circling here. Looks like a holding the ball free kick. So another decision going their way. WA through no fault of their own. Petrevsky too far out to score. Just kicks up towards the top of the goal square. Lindgren gives her a chance. Tough position to be in. Stockwell's there, and it's going to be a free kick to WA. So looks like Lindgren on the end of it from directly in front. Made a good contest of it, and the old saying of first to the footy works. A treat here for Courtney Lindgren.
Jamie Henry's just gone to the bench. She's exchanged her place there with Paige Shepherd. So the gun there and Henry having a rest for WA.
So Courtney Lindgren, 3 goals this year in the WAFLW, coming back from West Coast, where she was delisted at the end of last year from the AFLW after being picked up as an injury replacement player from East Perth in the same season. Works it back nicely, left to right, and WA have not put a foot wrong in this second quarter off the back of their work in the first.
Yeah, lead out to 34 points, and it's bigger than alarm bells now. This has been a shellacking by Western Australians so far of the South Australians, and they just can't seem to find that link-up play, John, of where they can create. And when they do go forward, it's so met with labour-intensive that when they do get the ball down there, that they're not moving it quick enough, that WA just have the ability to move it back tenfold the other way and score straight away.
No, it's certainly been impressive, and they are making all the running here. When South Australia look as though they're trying to build, they're shut down pretty quickly. They're doing it both in the offensive sense and also defensively as well. And a 5-5-35 to a single behind from South Australia is a lopsided scoreline that we weren't anticipating here, and growing in confidence all around the ground. Lauren Quaife knocks it forward out of the restart. Now a chance running through Kelly. Been impressed with her so far. Kick just a little too deep. On the half volley. Handball comes now. A chance for Harkin. Keeps it low. Hands in front. Nice grab. Well, that's just pretty to watch. Terrific football from the Waffle. From the centre restart, they muscle it forward, stayed with it, and now they get another chance to add to the tally as Lindgren with a chance to kick 2 in the space of a couple of minutes. Well, I think the alarm bells certainly ringing for the SANFLW women's team at the moment. They just cannot get any go forward at the moment. First 5 goals of the game to the Waffle team. And right to the line, she got the accuracy she has. Lindgren's kicked 2 in 2 minutes here. And the Waffle expand out now to a 40-point advantage.
Yeah, State right back in 2025, and she's having a wonderful day with her second goal, as you mentioned, John, representing WA at this high level. And it's just hard to know where South Australia get themselves back into the contest. The obvious thing is ruck dominance. You'd like to think that they're going to have that first use every time, but WA just eating up the pill, Ethan, as soon as the ball hits the deck inside, and we've just seen so many players from West Australia just feast on that, and even though the ruck can be dominant at times for SA, it's just not working.
Jamie Harkin's been the one from mine that's really got on top. You see her, she set up, lingering with that goal there, and yeah, causing plenty of headaches for South Australia. So 40-point lead, as you said, John. Didn't anticipate this. Ball back in the middle. What can South Australia find? They might just need to find one to get off the mark, but even then, it's going to be a long way back. Still, second quarter, long on the 360 there was Kelly. Ball comes up towards half forward. Can they get a bit of overlap here? South Australia up towards half forward, inside 50. Big fist came. Where are the crummers for South Australia? Trailing it there was Webb, first to the ball. Wanted to go by hand. Got it to Steen. Steen sidestepping in board, and running off half back is Johnson, former West Coast Eagle. Goes in the direction of Shannon. Had to play from behind. All she had to do was create a contest in the end for Petrevski to mop up. Tukarena first to it, bounced, didn't treat her kindly whatsoever, and trying to run out. Well, in the end, Falkenberg, the captain. Tukarena not giving up on that effort. In and under went West Australia, but a good mark taken, right position, right time by the visitors, and they just need to get some field possession. A lot easier said than done, though, at the moment. They try to go low in the direction. The team first to it there. And the ball's just going to stay in this vicinity, although Moon did well to rip it out. Got the handball there to Wenke. And the 1-2 works a favour for now. Almost stuck the mark in the end. Is this an opportunity for South Australia to get their first on the ball? Stepping ball around the corner from Ballard. How does it bounce? Cavalry's going to arrive for WA, outnumbered. The South Australian forward, and umpire says, I'll have it. It's in a dangerous position, but it's been a position that has not seen a lot of footy so far today.
And finally getting it to the goal face here, South Australia. Rucks go at it. Loose ball close to the boundary line, kept in. Game, Timmermans supplies a quick tackle. Everything that is being done by South Australia is under huge duress at the moment, and that's a credit to the WAFL women's team. Rucks go at it here. It's going to be Ballard doing the ruck work for South Australia. Dangerous situation for WA. They've got some defending to do. Doing it nicely for the moment. Strong tackle. Been impressed with Winky from South Australia. Dispossessed her opponent, Mackenzie Webb, in the tackle there, but they've muscled it outside their defensive 50, the WAFL team, and they're often running again to the open spaces, although this kick's going to be cut out. It was well read, but she wasn't aware of what was coming from behind. Talita Buethke, and she's caught holding the ball, and a chance for WA now as they bring it out wide. Mark being taken here by Greenwood. She kicks around the corner. Good contest provided there by Barch, but it's still good enough for WA to keep going forward. Now loose ball over the back, dangerous position right into the pocket, close to the boundary line. Handball was a good one, kept alive there by Shannon. Now we've got a stalemate developing, and the umpire says, I'll have it. We've played 13 minutes here, term number 2.
We just seem to have the extra number in all the contests at the moment. WA, Greenwood, stripped of it, stays in the field of play. South Australia probably want to rush this through, but they can't do so for now. On the last line of defence for their sake. So Moon goes at it. They clear it out. South Australia, they're going to have to go off the deck. Fresh, airy. In a tight corner there was Petrevski. Never looked likely and can't register a score, but they're still doing bulk of the attacking at the moment. 40-point lead between these two states that separates them at the moment. Great to have your company on the WAFL official YouTube channel, wherever you're watching. Ball coming out of the back half now for South Australia. Moon, the tallest target down there. Tentai also there for support. The ball doesn't go out fully. Henry, hand pass over the top. Shepherd just stayed out of it, which favoured her to get the kick on the boot, but that was smothered there by Tentai. Quaife holds her own. Steen in the pocket, and that's a nice delivery inside to Greenwood, who's been really busy this quarter. Of course, kicked 2 goals already, one of them being in the first quarter from this end, and in the second quarter as well. Doesn't look too confident, so she might just try and set it up in the pocket. A bit of a floater. Shannon does well to keep it in. Goes back in board. Tries to get the 1-2 with Petrevski. Moon getting back to help out. Umpire said you had no pride towards South Australia, and ferociousness is on full display here for WA. Jack Schwartz would be delighted at the moment.
Zoe Venning, Jets, has been kept to 4 disposals. We spoke about her in the pre-game. A gun of a player, and it's just been kept to the 4 disposals.
Needs to lift, no doubt about it, but she's got some friends wearing red jumpers. This is one of their best, though, Winky. She's doing a terrific job playing on her state debut. Up the centre wing. Again, they seem to have numbers where the ball is. It's a nice quality to have. Shepherd kicks around the body, standing underneath it. Holly Eiffel takes the mark. See, she's been taped up after taking a knock and a blood rule, so she's had to change a jumper as well, now into the number 10 jumper. A short pass, and she finds Winky once more. Her kick partially smothered there. Good job from Jamie Henry on the mark. And again, they win it back, just forcing SA into area here. Tackle from behind there. Almost a push in the back. And it is, that's the way the umpire's seen it. Mitigating circumstances for Mel Anderson was a good run and chase, but just couldn't prevent the forward momentum. So the free kick taken by Entwistle. Been impressed with her so far this afternoon. And again, going forward, and that's impressive to watch. How about the pass from Freem as she laces out Poppy Stockwell, and a chance for another goal.
John, the use of handball has just been outstanding from WA today, which you've just illustrated nicely with your commentary, but the short ball and that handball and creating a space. WA, when they mark the ball inside 50, are often 5 to 10 metres in space. It's a lot of grass.
Stockwell being super impressive. Goal kicker already today. 3 goals for Perth against East Perth. Last week, mentioned she's kicked goals in 3 of the 5 games in the WAFL season so far. This one just going across the face. And when they don't score, there was more opportunity of the WAFL coming up with possession than SA there.
Half time couldn't come quicker for South Australia, but having said that, we said it at the first break, and it's been nothing that's changed since then, apart from the minor behind. They intercept again, WA, quick kick around the corner, recognise the importance of getting it on the boot towards the latter stage. Harkins there, she didn't give up in the end, out to Stockwell. Could be the old 7-point play, and that's exactly what it is. Unintended, of course, but Poppy Stockwell kicks another, and this is getting ultra ugly for South Australia inside the first half.
Well, a second now for Stockwell, and you look down the list, Greenwood with 2, Lindgren with 2, Petreski also with that single, and feel free to comment, any of you gents, that was just another finish, and South Australia's defence is just under so much pressure, John, that you can't really get any form of rest. The midfielders will need to be pushing back throughout this game, but that defensive back 6 has been under probably the most pressure it has been in 2 to 3 years.
It's absolutely outstanding work, and what a quality finish as well. That's a terrific goal from Poppy Stockwell. They deserve everything they're getting at the moment because they're just out-hustling their opponents and proving too good. It's been a super display. WA fans should be really enjoying this because it's as good as you will see. SA came in here with high optimism about maintaining their undefeated record and having beaten Victoria or the VFL last month, but they are being given a lesson here at the moment as Britain looks up. Inboard, kick just misses the target. Jamie Harkin has time though to go back and retrieve it. Slow handball. And as you can see, they're just able to move it any way they want at the moment. They're pressing forward once more. Ooh, heavy collision. And South Australia under all sorts of duress at the moment. Forced to defend grimly as the ball is knocked down out of bounds. 18 and a half minutes played here in this second quarter. Into time on, and that half-time bell, well, South Australia really need it at the moment.
Just under a minute and a half to play in this second quarter to wrap up the first half. West Australia looking to go beyond 50 points. Clear comes down the way of Shannon. She's going to be caught on her wrong side, and that might come back to bite her. Went in the direction of Shepherd, who went back to Shannon with the 1%er. Stays in the field of play. Trying to break through South Australia. Martino's in there. One way than the other. Greenwood, did she cop a high free kick? She sure did. South Australia can't believe it, and Lucy Greenwood can go back and try and kick her third in a half of footy. Again, first to the ball, and the high free kick paid there. Inks the visitors. So Lucy Greenwood, make it a half to remember. It's already been that for her and her teammates, but this would put the cherry on top of what's been a memorable first half. It's not going to make the distance in the end, and safely taking the mark on the last line of defence, South Australia. and a 50-metre penalty, which might be able to get them one last chance, but having said that, could be too late as the clock continues to run.
I think they'll just be happy not to concede a goal at the moment, Ethan. They're out of the danger zone through Tiff King. Release some pressure. Goes to a South Adelaide teammate. Another 50-metre penalty here. Just encroaching on the protected area. Holly Britton there, so it's an eye-fold. Who will bring the SANFL women's team forward inside the 50. O'Neill hasn't had a lot to do down at full forward. Has rarely seen the ball down there. And again, Western Australia just with numbers around it and able to run the ball out, although with problems here is Matilda Sargent. She's dragged down in a strong tackle by Georgia King. Umpire says, I'll have it. Ticked over the 20-minute mark of this second quarter. Sarai Moon front position. Now tries to wrestle the ball free, but it's WA with the answers at the moment and clearing the congestion here. Lisa Steen kicks out wide. Chance now for SA with the run of it. Here is Georgia Madigan working against Tukarena, who wins it back. Good hustle from her, working hard. They've got it out in the open again. Well, that's a nice tackle. It was a little high from Winky, so free kick going the way of WA.
They've got the open play. Taking the mark is Steen. Could have kept running, but knew she had Britton over the top, who can just run and grab it in the end. Tried to sell some dummy in the process, did exactly that. Kicks up towards Stockwell, a bit too much overhead. Lingering playing from behind and grabbing it cleanly. South Australia is the captain in Falkenberg. Breaks out of jail, but it might come back in a similar direction because it's all WA, and showing her pure speed was Freem. Couldn't quite get another, but that doesn't matter to close out this first half for WA.
We go to half-time. It is the WAFLW ladies leading 7-6-48 over the SANFLW, who are on a paltry one behind. It's been a stunning first half by the WA girls. Their use of handball and short kick has been the difference. They led at quarter time, 3-5-23. The South Australia yet to score. That was by 23 points, and as I said, the lead is 47 points at the main break. For Western Australia going to half-time, Petreski has got 14 possessions, Harkin 18, and Henry been dominant with 14. And for SA, Winky with 10, and Tentai with 11 possessions. So much work ahead for Narelle Smith and her ladies for South Australia to reel in the deficit, I should say. Jack Swartz will be delighted at half-time. But a big half nonetheless coming up the other side of the break. We'll be back in a few moments' time to dissect that first half further, get the comments from our commentators in John Casey and Ethan Roth. Until then, we'll just take a small break and go to half-time. It's WA 7-6-48 over the SANFLW, one behind.
Smell rotten eggs indoors? That could be a gas leak. Leave the area and report it to ATCO on 13 13 52. Now you know, you're good to go.
They could have made it round.
Let's have a ball.
Instead, they made a swinging pendulum of luck.
Let's have a day. We'll do the ball. Let's have a ball.
When the bounce serves you a clanger,
Lucky you're with Amy.
Mode. Oh, did we just become best friends?
Kia. Movement that inspires.
All the way west. You can't drive there. It lives in us. It's having skin and heart and nerve in the game. It's letting them hear you, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. All the way west is driving 6 hours every home game. It pushes us onwards, upwards, sideways, and together. All in? That's just the beginning. We are all the way west.
They could have made it round.
Let's have a ball.
Instead, they made a swinging pendulum of luck.
Let's have a day. We'll do the ball. Let's have a ball. Don't tell
When the bounce serves you a clanger,
Lucky you're with Amy.
Mode. Oh, did we just become best friends?
Kia. Movement that inspires.
Looks like I need a little TLC. Trust me, you don't want to see this.
Gas appliances should be serviced every 2 years. Now you know, you're good to go.
Welcome back to Sullivan Logistics Stadium, of course, here in beautiful Leederville in the heart of Perth. To the right of the commentary box, we can see the beautiful Perth City CBD, and then plenty of clouds out to the east and to the north of Perth. Another wonderful day of football. Where would you rather be? South Australia, obviously being hosted by the West Australian ladies, and at half-time, in genuine shock at this stage. South Australia have been so dominant against other states over the last couple of years. They've dominated WA. Even though they've won those games by 8 and 16 points, there certainly has been the big sister and the little sister on the attack. But 7-6-48 is WA's lead over the SANFLW, one behind. Ethan Roth is in commentary alongside myself as the host of the afternoon. And I can say, Ethan, that stuns me, that first half. But how do you see South Australia effectively getting back into the game? And who have been the better players for West Australia in your eyes?
Yeah, shell shock to say the least. I think a few of all of the SANFLW players you'd have to say, and their coaching stuff. But still, funny things can happen in this game. A half to go, but yeah, 47-point lead. And for me, it's been Jamie Harkin. She's had 18 disposals, kicked a couple of behinds as well. She's really leading the way and showing that the captaincy well and truly deserves to be with her from a WA standpoint. Jamie Henry continues to do Jamie Henry things with 14 disposals. Crystal Petrovsky as well on 14. Paige Shepherd 13 and Lisa Steen 12 from a goal scoring end. Of course, Poppy Stockwell kicked a couple. So was Lucy Greenwood. So a couple small forwards or mid-sized forwards doing their work there for the home side. Courtney Lindgren as well, back-to-back goals in the second quarter. Gives her a lot of confidence into the second half. So, yeah, they've been the major focal points up forward. But, yeah, across the board, hard to really put a foot wrong in terms of all players playing their role, particularly the backs as well. They've really set up well. Whenever South Australia have got it out, they've set up well behind the ball.
And just on South Australia, where can they get themselves back into the game? The obvious answer would be, obviously, within that midfield. You've got to get first use from your ruck. Moon, to me, looks like a player that could really tear a game apart. Surely there's got to be some upside there with South Australia just offering some physicality inside. They seem to be a little bit standoffish, and WA look quick.
They do, and I think South Australia, the SANFLW, are trying to match it with WA at the moment in terms of every time they do get a mark, they're just off to the races every time, which of course you want to see ball move from one end to the other, but sometimes they just got to think their way through things a bit more rather than, you know, go all guns blazing, particularly if they turn it over. That's when WA score at the other end.
Let's focus on a positive for South Australia, and I look at Isla Winky, who is sitting on 10 disposals at half-time. She is on debut, of course, from Glenelg over there in the SANFLW. She has really, I think, would be a name that I would be writing up on the board saying, lead with example, and this is a player on debut. There's a couple of other players that can pull their socks up. If a debutant is leading the way, you're in some trouble.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, she's really led the way inside from Glenelg. One of two Glenelg players out there today for the South Australian side, and 10 disposals, as you said. Alice Tentai as well, 11 disposals, leads their side of things, and yeah, really started well, but unfortunately a bit too many passengers at the moment for the visitors.
And I focus too here on Alice Tentai. She's an emerging gun mid, of course, from the Eagles over there in the SANFLW. She's a tackling machine. She leads the SANFLW with 43 tackles at this stage over in their competition for South Australia. I've been impressed though with her first half. She's had a crack, and she just needs some more help.
Yeah, she seems like she's a real competitor really hunts the footy and has that drive in her whenever the ball's near, and of course doing the defensive stuff as well. So hopefully a good second half coming up for her, but as we've said many times, she's going to need a lot more support.
John, to bring you back in after half-time, Claudia O'Neill. She's a current leading goal kicker. John, you won't need to know this. With 14 goals over there in the SANFLW, she plays for Woodville West Torrens. She's a gun contested mark, but we haven't been able to see those skills on display today because when the ball has gone in, it's exited just as quickly. A bit like my biscuit jar at home. But I can say this, John, is there an opportunity, and I say this with care because Darrell Smith is obviously a very, very good coach, played 130 games over 12 seasons as a player. She's a gun coach. Does Claudia O'Neill need some time in the midfield just to get her hands on the football maybe?
I think the coaching staff will be considering all options at the moment because what they produced here in the first half just hasn't been good enough. And, I think Claudia O'Neill, she's just been starved of opportunities, really. The inside 50 count, 25-8. So that tells you a lot. It was 15-2 at quarter time. In fact, look, she's been starved of opportunity there. But I think it's full credit to WA. I can't sing their praises enough. This has been super impressive from them. 13 scoring shots to 1. As I mentioned, that inside 50 domination. And really, Isla Winky, who's the youngest player out there on debut for South Australia, she's just 19. I think she's probably their best player at the moment. And she's a member of the National AFL Academy. And I think we're going to be hearing big things from her in the future. I think she'll be on an AFLW list very quickly, and on what she's produced here today, she's going to be a star of the future. It's one of the rare highlights or positives that we can find for South Australia has been the form of this teenager.
Absolutely. Look, I don't like to lump it just all on one player, but Jade Halfpenny's a player that I highly rate from South Australia. She's in the leadership group, prolific ball winner. She's a Norwood girl. She captains Norwood back there in South Australia. Had a dominant season to date. Her dominance, it just hasn't been able to find the football today, along with a number of other players. So she's certainly not an orphan, but Jade Halfpenny certainly had her colours lowered. As
most of the South Australians have, the top 13 possession getters on the ground, 11 are from WA, and only Alice Tentai and Isla Winky are in that top 13 from South Australia. But they've had a lot of players that just haven't seen enough of the ball or haven't been involved enough at the moment. You've got Dakota Williams, Claudia O'Neill, April Crooks, Lauren Briggy have all just had the one disposal. Look, everyone needs to lift. I think, sometimes you talk about a team playing well and it all played well rather than the best players list. Well, I think you look at South Australia now and you say, we all need to lift. They would have looked one another in the eye in the change rooms at half time and said, we are all playing less than we should be, so let's dig deep here and make it a contest in the second half. And you're not going to get this lead back all at once, so you just chip away at it, try and get the first goal, try and win the quarter at least, and then see what happens after that.
Goal kickers for Western Australia, of course, on screen there. We've obviously seen Greenwood and Stockwell will be quite dominant in front of goal. Is there an opportunity, John, to throw Moon down at centre-half forward or a full forward line just to get her out of that space and, I don't know, give them another taller option? Is there another rucking option for the SANFLW?
Well, they can certainly throw Jade Halfpenny in there, and I'm sure, as I say, that the coaches will be thinking about what they can do to try and assist here with the team. But it's really been the hunt of WA that's really impressed me. Whenever the ball's in dispute, it seems that WA have got 3-1 around the ball. When the ball hits the deck, they seem to be first there. When South Australia have gone forward, it seemed like they had extras in defence. It's just been an all-round terrific performance from WA, and you can't sing their praises highly enough. And the challenge now for SA is to try and work themselves back into the game. Annie Falkenberg, we see there, her run and carry's been great. She's been trying to lift, but they're just coming out of that defensive line. They seem to face a wall of WA players already to sink it back inside the attacking zone, and they're just running out of ideas.
Yeah, labour intensive for South Australia. They're warming up. They're back on the ground. They're the first side to be back on the ground. They're currently down the southern end of this ground here at Sullivan Logistics Stadium. So they're going through some run-throughs. Swinging back to you, Ethan. Obviously, WA in a dominant position. What is Jack Swartz not wanting WA to do in this second half? Because sometimes when you have a big lead, you can let sides back in for that 10 to 15 minutes. That could result in 3 or 4 quick goals. So I imagine that Jack Swartz's message, no doubt, would be to continue to attack the pill.
Yeah, exactly. I think not taking the foot off the pedal, as simple as it sounds. I think this side has never beaten South Australia in a state game. So I think that the motivation speaks for itself. They want to win and do it in convincing fashion. So, yeah, Jack Swartz obviously would be pretty content with how this first half played out, but he wanted them to run it out for four quarters.
So we're still waiting for WA, of course, to get onto the field. And we're not too far away, you wouldn't think, from this game resuming. Western Australia 7-6-48. The SANFLW ladies have been on the ground for some time. As we see, Jamie Harkin, she's been an absolute gun at WAFL level and, of course, state level. Super talent. She's 103 games. She's a 2024 Claremont fairest and best in the WAFLW competition. She's 30 years of age, so be close to the oldest player on the ground for WA. We'll swing to a break and be back for the second half. Of course, you're on the WAFL official YouTube channel. It's WA 7-6-48, 47-point leaders over South Australia. Back after the break for the second half.
Smell rotten eggs indoors? That could be a gas leak. Leave the area and report it to ATCO on 13 13 52. Now you know, you're good to go.
They could have made it round.
Let's have a ball.
Instead, they made a swinging pendulum of luck.
Let's have a day. We'll do the ball. Let's have a ball.
When the bounce serves you a clanger,
Lucky you're with Amy.
Mode. Oh, did we just become best friends?
Kia. Movement that inspires.
All the way west. You can't drive there. It lives in us. It's having skin and heart and nerve in the game. It's letting them hear you, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. All the way.
Welcome back to Sullivan Logistics Stadium. Third quarter action about to start. Here's Ethan Roth.
Back underway for the second half. WA 47-point leaders, and again Henry with disposal number 15, just going back with the flight is Entwistle. Entwistle runs inside and goes to the direction of Greenwood, who's seen it all today. Just too far out to score, it looks, so went for the handball option, but those players ran past and off a sounding step. Goes in the direction of Stockwell, and so those players linking up again. Fast start in the second half for WA. Stockwell can go back and kick another if she can convert. Missed from this angle earlier in the game.
Dare I say it, Ethan, you don't often want to say, but that was almost bruise-free football. Brought through the corridor down to that half-forward line. South Australia were nowhere near it. This has been a very odd performance from South Australia, who I rate very highly.
So Poppy Stockwell kicked 2 in the first half. But number 3, it's a nice-looking kick. They continue where they've left off. WA, it's just the same story all over again out of the main break.
John, I'll let you sum that up. I know that you're probably shaking your head, but South Australia, no hurt on the ball, no revs on it. And WA pretty much did what they wanted.
Yep, I think you summed it up nicely there, Dan. That really was bruise-free. They were able to move the ball where they wanted, and even when they got it inside their attacking 50 and they're a little too far out to score, they were able to find one of the most dangerous players on the ground. I mean, Stockwell's already kicked 2 goals, one in each of the first 2 quarters, and she was able to waltz into some space and take a mark. I mean, you really have to lift in the defensive 50 back there. South Australia at the moment all out of sorts. So back to the middle we go. Quaif's been great in the ruck, working against Moon. He's won the hit-outs at the moment, 17-14 in that area. And again, first to the ball, Jamie Harkin. Sound like a broken record here with what's going on, but it's first to the ball, more aggressive with it, and just taking South Australia out of their comfort zone. Quaif wins the tap again, worked it to the advantage of Juliet Kelly, who's the youngest player on the ground today, just 18 years of age. And here's Quaife once more. Moon just couldn't get there. Knocked it down. Kelly quickly onto the boot. Just muscling it forward. No direction with it. Running past here, Sergeant Wilson. They're inside the attacking 50 once more. Going back with the flight. There's a whistle on the play here. Just as Lucy Greenwood was thinking running into the open goal. Free kick going to WA here. And it looks as though it's going to Poppy Stockwell. Stockwell been super impressive here. She's a talent. A couple of games with Fremantle in the AFLW. And really found form last week. 3 goals, 4 for Perth against East Perth. She kicked 6 goals, 9 this season in her 5 games at club level. This has been very impressive to watch from her. Kicked a goal on the run in the first quarter to this end. Kicked one in the second as well. And now from 30 metres out directly in front. She makes no mistake, and the margin continues to grow here. That is 4 for the day already for Poppy Stockwell.
Yeah, can't really add much more. WA have just picked up from where they left off. The dominance has probably increased, which is a scary thought. WA 9-6-60. The game, its result, you would suggest, is lock and key. Just what worries me is South Australia have really dropped their head in the midfield. Their defence has been under pressure, and I'm always will go into bat for a back 6, John. And just that midfield of South Australia looks lethargic to me, and they just look like they're just standing still, which is, again, something that I have not seen.
We haven't seen this before from South Australia, and they need to find something and find it quick.
59 points the margin. Poppy Stockwell's kicked her 4th from 11 disposals. What can South Australia do? Tentai reeled it in with one arm. Goes in the direction of half-forward flank, but Sargent. And every time they do look to threaten, they're just so well set up. Tilda Sargent, who won a premiership last year for Claremont, missed out on the previous 2 before that. Harkin going to be caught here holding the ball, so something going right for South Australia. And eager to play on was Williams in the direction of Ifold. She was caught in an awkward position there with Flynn. Flynn outnumbered, although the support comes to a WA, laying a big tackle there. South Australia on a breakthrough. Harkin this time caught from behind. Umpire holding the ball her way. Got a big outing today, Jamie Harkin so far. Been one of the best, as has Jamie Henry, those two combining once more. Taking the uncontested marking then was Sargent.
Ethan, just quickly, Western Australia have 80 more disposals. 80 more disposals, 191 to 111. Now, that may not surprise you folks out there that are watching and gents that you commentating, but that is just amazing.
Ball touched off the boot, coming off the boot from Timmermans, who sent it in. Ball again in the forward half for Western Australia. Quaife and Moon, neither getting too much impact there. Trying to go on the non-preferred was Williams. Didn't get the purchase on it whatsoever. Couple players down in the pack, and umpire says, I'll have it for another stoppage.
Dakota Williams on the bottom of the pack there for SA. She certainly lifted the intensity, the hunger's there, but WA just too good at the moment. Benning, slooping handball. Quinn quickly onto the boot. Doubling back and taking a nice grab. How about that from Kiana Lee? A touch of class from her now. She can go over the top if she wants. Almost sold herself into trouble. Forced to kick with a non-preferred left. Again, the pressure from WA is very impressive. Ifold, her handball, ill-directed, picked off by Sargent, and they've won it back, and they're heading back toward goal. Shepherd, neat kick, well weighted. And Fight works it to the advantage here of Holly Britton. Lead comes now. That's ignored from Lindgren. So just slowed it down. That's allowed SA to get back in numbers. No one can complete the mark. Ifold tracking it back, getting there first though is Michaela Tukarina, and she wrestles away through a tackle. Now the handball and the pass forward, out on the lead. How about the grab? Stockwell again.
Yeah, just superior ball movement. And what's been a blessing for Western Australia is the space they've created from their midfield and that centre half forward traditional kick inside, John. They've just been so classy, and at times in that first quarter they did kick over the head of their teammates, but they've as soon as they've tidied that up halfway through the first, they've just been a clinic to watch.
So 2 goals already in this quarter from Marks for Stockwell. 2 in the first half as well. She's got 4. Can she make it an even 5? And that one to the near side through for a minor score. So 7.5 minutes played here in the third quarter. And this WA dominance continues. It's 9-7, 61 leading the SANFL, 1 behind.
Jamie Harkin again getting her hands on the ball to set up that shot despite not converting for Poppy Stockwell. South Australia, their back half. Bit of a floater off the boot on the second attempt though. Going back with the flight, Henry. She'll go back on her left boot, pump it. It's a high ball, going to take some effort to mark. Fist came in there from South Australia. Steen around the corner. Ifold picks it up. Have to go back to go forward, and the intended target is Venning, who can run onto it, assess her options. She can't break the tackle the way she wanted. Had to go back in the direction of Ifold. Ifold just kicks absolutely no one. A kick in hope more than anything. Foot race is on. WA going to get there first. Picking it up cleanly was Steen. And Timmermans can assess her options as well. But this time that ball's going to be intercepted by South Australia. Martino it is, cross half back. Is Ifold, who spent a bit of time in the WAFLW with South Fremantle when she was here on Fremantle's AFLW list. So his experience as they come in terms of the WAFLW venues. Good mark taken there by O'Neill. Wants to go back into the corridor. Holding her ground pretty well was Madigan, but again, WA win out. Harkin on the end of absolutely everything today to Shannon, who can play on. Her eyes lit up when she saw the goals. Goes to Tukarena. Tukarena can waltz into an open goal and nail it. And this is just light work for WA at the moment, as it's been for the majority of the day.
Well, it was an ambitious kick, wasn't it? Ambitious, I should say, by Claudia O'Neill. She tried to ice the cake, I suppose, just with the one hand, in that midfield kick. It was too high, it was cut off, and John, once again, in the blink of an eye, WA linked up with 3 possessions and finished.
Just unbelievable the dominance that they've been able to draw here. South Australia, you can see a lift in intensity from them, but WA just with all the answers at the moment. And 10-7, 67 to 1 behind is a lopsided scoreline that's starting to get into the realms of where were you on the day this happened in terms of women's football for South Australia.
And John, that behind was rushed. So there actually technically hasn't been a score from the slipper of any South Australian player.
So we restart in the middle. And again, WA first to it. Working her way through the traffic, Kelly. And impressed with her, and they're heading forward again, this time through the agency of Paige Shepherd. Ball is deep. Lingren lurking with intent. Right there with her as well is Tiff King. South Australian defenders have been busy all afternoon. They've had their hands full. And it's King who will relieve some pressure here. But even just getting outside the defensive 50 is a chore for them at the moment. Out wide, couldn't complete the mark there, Tentai. They put the clamps on her after she had an equal game-high 9 disposals in that first quarter, Alice Tentai. Again come forward. This time it's going to be cut out, relieving the pressure on that occasion, Buethke. Norwood defender. But as soon as they get outside the attacking 50, it's coming back again. Through sets of hands, they work at Shannon. Got it from Harkin. Hands over now. Chance for them to get another goal, and they add another. Oh, how about the finish there? Petrevsky gets her second goal of the game.
It is a moment in time, isn't it, gentlemen? Just the movement again from Western Australia in the finish. They're starting to really get to the level of where they're embarrassing South Australia. Probably have been doing that for some time. They've now had effectively 18 shots on goal. There's been a few that have fell short. The leader's out to 72 points. We've explained how stunned we are. South Australia, to their credit, have tried to up the ante at the start of this second half, but we've only seen WA very, very quickly add 4 goals won, and South Australia have not been able to put one in the net, so to speak.
Crystal Petrevsky adds her name to the multiple goal kicker list for Western Australia.
She's been brilliant too, Ethan, by the way.
On her home ground, and it'll feel extra special for a side that has never won against the SANFLW in its short history. Back in the middle once more. Trying to break through was Henry. Again, just staying out of it, which favoured them. WA Shepherd can assess her options. Goes inside 50. Wants to honour the lead of Lindgren on a searching lead. And you can't give her too much space and time. One out. She can go back and have a set shot.
Just beautiful disposal again there from Shepherd. And just wandered out of the pack. See Judd like 10 metres in space.
And she goes in the direction of Britton, who held her ground well. She's going to be caught around, but she knew that the whole way. Another goal for WA. Holly Britton. It is like shelling peas at the moment for WA in a matter of what this end margin's going to be.
Well, the celebrations may have started early, of course. Holly Britton will play a 50th WAFLW game when the season restarts next week. But the champagne may be flowing a little bit early here for Western Australia. 12-7-79. SANFLW, a Poultry, one behind. And once again, John, we've been blessed to see WA's ball movement. They find space. They've been really patient with that kick inside 50. They've had contested marks, or not necessarily contested, but they've had inside 50 marks that have all stuck, and they've made South Australia pay every time. They have put them to the sword.
They have indeed. 6 different goal kickers now for WA as well. 230 to 130 is the overall disposal count, and our stats don't extend to disposal efficiency, but the efficiency of WA is clearly superior. When they get the ball, they use it with intent. That's why they've been able to rattle on this terrific score. 12 goals already here in the third quarter, and they've kicked 3 in the last 3 minutes. So no matter what SA has done, WA have just been able to lift and rise to the occasion. So full credit to them. It's been outstanding and a real wake-up call for South Australia, for Coach Narelle Smith and everyone involved with the program, that this is the level we need to aspire to, because this is as good as I have seen in women's football in Australia. The way that WA have dismantled the previously undefeated South Australians, were undefeated against WA. Of course, they lost to the VFL last year before beating them just a month ago. But they've been given a football lesson here at the moment, and here we go again through Entwistle. It's got time to survey our options, going back with the flight, and as you can see for the defenders, they're under extreme pressure straight away. The smother came there from Bwethke, but she kept coming at it to Karina, and now they're trying to work it into open space once more around the body. Greenwood just with too much on it, across the face of goal, through for a minor score.
Probably the first blemish for the day, really. When she's got the pill, she's always been damaging as SA bring the ball out from fullback.
Just hooking that one a bit too much around the corner. Standing underneath it there. South Australia, Harkin lost it for a moment. So a couple of South Australia players just look at each other and say, who's going to pick this up? Eventually, the player did in Madigan, but only as far as a ball up on the half-forward flank for WA. 79 points, the margin. Can you believe? I don't think anyone coming to the ground or watching today would have thought that would be in the third quarter. Still a long way to go as well. And we just have a little bit of a pause here, as there's going to be a anti-density warning coming up to South Australia against them. They've got a lot more worries than that, though, at the moment.
Well, they've got 10 players who have had 5 disposals or less, South Australia. They just haven't had enough contributors. But again, I would give that credit to WA, who have just been so proactive and aggressive at it that they've really taken South Australia out of their comfort zone, and they haven't been able to get involved.
John, just quickly, how damning is this for South Australia, what we're seeing unfold before our eyes?
Well, I think it's a huge wake-up call, and I guess if you're going to get a wake-up call, you may as well get one that is as bad as this. Maybe you can come back to this and say, well, here's a lot of things that we did wrong that we need to improve on. But this is, look, they're only going to lose the game. I guess the margin in itself isn't going to matter. They're going to lose the cup, but well, this is going to be a huge wake-up call, and one that no doubt is going to be adjusted and worked on right through the program.
They look to clear out of their back half. They do successfully. Bit of a scrapping ball first to it. WA through Teakle. Teakle's handball out wide. Gave Sergeant Wilson a chance. Then eventually picked it up, but going the wrong way in the end. Although having the numbers in their favour, interesting decision there for South Australia. Here is Madigan, who has to assess her options, and you wouldn't know which way the teams are going at the moment, judging by this passage of play, putting ahead of her to Karina. Again, Harkin gets it out to Henry on her left boot. Can she finish off in the direction of Shannon, who might take the safe chest mark? She does exactly that, and she can go back and add her name to the scoring sheet. She's been often the deepest player in the forward half today. Wastes no time and puts it straight over the goal umpire's hat to add her name to the score sheet. And Isabella Shannon, like many of her teammates today, going to have a memorable state experience. Her second game in WA colours, but this one will be a lot more memorable than the last.
Well, as the dark clouds descend down near Mandurah, John, there's going to be a few dark clouds over the South Australian coaching department this afternoon into the evening. Can only hope that their men's side puts up a better performance, which we expect.
Couldn't be any worse.
38 inside 50s for WA, just to get some clarification on the stats side of things. For South Australia, 8. And I would have thought that they would have had that potentially in a quarter of football, usually for South Australia. But once again, we've been singing the dominance of WA, and that's probably taken away from the performance that they've put in. But 38-8 inside 50s, very damning.
Yep, it sure is. And that's 13-1 in this quarter, the inside 50s. And it was 15-2 going in this direction in quarter number 1. So it has been a landslide for WA. And it has been super impressive from them. So really, they just need to grab some sort of reputation here, SA, in terms of trying to retrieve the situation. They need to dig deep. We played 18 and a bit minutes here in this third quarter, so not a lot of time left on the clock. And WA are pressing once more. That's a high tackle. Soraya Moon just a little off balance there. Certainly no malice involved, but hard at it. And that's what I've liked about WA. This time it's Lucy Greenwood. Takes the hit. And now will get a chance to go back and kick the goal. Searching for her third, a goal kicker in the first quarter. In fact, kicked the first goal of the game, Lucy Greenwood. Kicked one in the second. This to add to her tally and expand the margin out to 91 points. And from directly in front, she makes no mistake. It's a 14th goal here for WA and 7 in this quarter.
Which is quite incredible when we go back to that first half. WA was so dominant halfway through that first term. For the remainder of the second term, they went to half-time 7-6 to South Australia, 1 behind. And as you mentioned, John, they've kicked 7 goals in this quarter and 7-2. So not only have they upped the work rate, but their accuracy has really got into line. And that's pretty much, I feel like, that WA are pretty much playing at 100% perfect football at the moment. Everything that they're touching, Ethan, is turning to gold. And at the moment, South Australia are looking, well, they're holding a bit of gravel in the palm, aren't they, really?
Lucy Greenwood with goal number 3. Had some AFLW interest in terms of draft last year, but now this performance today won't do her chances any harm moving forward. They get a rare clearance to South Australia through Williams and trying to go in the direction of the Premier forward in O'Neill. Test of athleticism for her. Comes back her way around the body, kicking hope. But standing her ground really well was Entwistle, who's done some terrific things offensively today to set up. But that is also a mark worth noting. She's going to play on the far side and kick it in the direction of Quaife, who floated in from the side through the hands there of Freem. Harkin stays out of it. Again, she's been dominant today, to say the least. Stockwell, the intended target, just miscued that ever so slightly. And running out of there, Falkenberg, who has seen a lot more of the footy than she would have liked in the back half today. Good intercept mark there from Freem. Been a showcase of her footy this year at Claremont, being able to run and carry for the Tigers and translating that into her state debut. Tuka Rayner's favoured on the left side. Sold them all in the end. Goes back in the direction of Harkin, but a free kick coming the way of South Australia.
Just may have run too far.
Look really tired. And a question for you, John, what do you put this down to? Because it's one thing to say home ground advantage, but you cannot possibly say 91-point deficit at the moment. Is that whatsoever? No,
it's just the endeavour from WA. They've been cleaner with it. They've been better, more skilled, and their desire has been there. It was almost as if their lives depended on putting in a good performance, and they've come to play. And South Australia, well, 4 of the players missed the team bus coming to the game, and in some ways it feels like they haven't joined us because they look like they're playing a couple short here. We had to double back and go and pick them up, and they got off to a bad start in terms of missing the bus. And since they've arrived here, it's got progressively worse for them to the extent where it's going to be a record-breaking margin. And as I say, it's going to be a game that I'm sure the WAFL women's fans are going to be talking about for a long time. They'll be dining out on this. I often cop a lot of good-natured ribbing from the WA commentary team over here about this great rivalry between SA and WA. Well, our WA women's team won't be talking too much for a while after this.
Yeah, it's a hell of an omen, isn't it? Missing the team bus. 4 players, you'd have to tidy that up, and it's been bad for worse since the sun's come up here in WA for South Australia.
So almost 23 minutes gone in this third quarter. Here's Ifold, who, as you said earlier, John, has had a change of jumper number, got the bandage around the head in the direction of Moon, misfiring there. Johnson, become corridor to South Australia, but absolutely no one, all by herself to track it is Steen. Had so much time to work with, and goes to Tukarang, who's built, you'd have to say, as this game's gone along. Livewire small forward out of South Fremantle. Running the jump, really good there from Stockwell, playing in front, almost ripped it out of the hands of a direct opponent. She'd be in the conversation, you'd have to say, for best on ground. That's probably a question that we don't know the answer to as much as which way this game is going. Stockwell in the direction of Lingeren, over the back, just staying out of it there was Shepherd, floating forward, and South Australia can get a mark taken, uncontested to Lee. But that'll just about be it for the third quarter, and quarter to play, 91 points, gentlemen. It's unforeseen, to say the least.
Yes, 3-quarter time here at Sullivan Logistics Stadium. It's seen Western Australia steamroll South Australia again in that quarter. They've added 7 goals to South Australia. Had some opportunities across half forward, but continued to break down. The inside 50 count has been dominant towards WA. The lead at 3-quarter time is 91 points. I repeat, 91 points. We go to 3-quarter time, and after the break, we will dissect what happened in that third term and turn for home for the final quarter action here on the state game football. It is South Australia taking on WA at 3-quarter time. We're back after the break.
For the public, great spot to watch the footy. What a day it is for WA State footy here at Sullivan Logistics Stadium.
West is driving 6 hours every home game. It pushes us onwards, upwards, sideways and together. All in? That's just the beginning. We are all the way west.
They could have made it round.
Let's have a ball.
Instead, they made a swinging pendulum of luck.
Let's have a day. We'll do the ball. Let's have a ball. Don't tell you.
When the bounce serves you a clanger,
Lucky you're with Amy.
Inspires.
Looks like I need a little TLC. Trust me, you don't want to see this.
Gas appliances should be serviced every 2 years. Now you know, you're good to go.
Another dominant quarter by Western Australia. Jack Schwartz, he'll be absolutely wrapped. Of course, today is the third consecutive season that he's led Western Australia. And both the previous occasions, it was the Crow Eaters who got over South Australia by 16 points and 8 points. But today, it is Narelle Smith's turn for the Crow Eaters to sit there at 3-quarter time And I would say that not only would she be disappointed with the performance, but in a degree of shock as the WAFLW leading the SANFLW side from the South Australian girls 14-8, 92 to 1 behind. The dominance from WA is everywhere to be seen. Ethan Roth, you've been hearing commentary for 3/4 of football. The clouds are descending. There's no rain in sight. I've just checked the radar, but I think South Australia would almost like a sinkhole to swallow them up at 3/4 time. It's been a rough day for the Crow Eaters.
Has absolutely, and yeah, it doesn't do it justice in many ways. And I think, yeah, this has been as close to a perfect performance by Jack Schwartz's side for 3/4 so far. Jamie Harkin, 28 disposals up until 3/4 time. She's had 94 ranking points, which tells the picture there. And also Jamie Henry, Paige Shepherd, Lisa Steen, familiar names in the WAFLW who are so used to dominating, translating that into the state stage today. And yeah, those players have been dominant as well as the goal scorers that we've highlighted.
Sorry, Ethan. Yeah, we run down the list, and I look at the South Australian side, John, and I look at the names and the fruit that hasn't been bared today. Even in halving a few contests, you spoke of a word, desire. I think even the desire to halve the contest has even left or been absent from South Australia's football at some stage today. I think there's been passage of play. I'm happy to put my head on the chopping block of where South Australia have actually given up in the chase for WA as they've streamed away. There's been players on numerous amount of occasions that are 10 to 20 metres in space. It's almost borderline unprofessional performance from South Australia. Just in shock.
Yep, I am as well. It's clearly not at the level that they were expecting to bring today. But as I said right from the start, full credit to WA. We're getting a look at Paige Shepherd's work there and just the way they've moved the ball here in terms of getting it in forward. And once they get it inside 50, when you've got 42 to 9 inside 50s, well, that's just the sheer weight of numbers for the South Australian defence to try and contain. But full credit to WA. They've been outstanding and South Australia have been below par. They've got a quarter to try and resurrect something here and maybe, you know, put some wallpaper over the cracks. But look, when you consider the last 3 games that the South Australian women's team has played, that they've given up a combined 11 goals in those 3 games combined, and here we are at 3/4 time and WA have got 14. That tells you how good they've been.
And John, I imagine it would be absolutely non-negotiable as we start the 4th term that South Australia outscore West Australia in this last quarter. You've got to take something from the visit.
Indeed.
Last quarter, what's been a day to forget for South Australia and a day to savour for West Australia out wide. Steen trying to keep that in, she can't do so. And it'll be brought back in by South Australia on the far side. We're in the direction here of Dakota Williams. Ball at ground level. Could have copped a high free kick, umpire said. Sure did. She'll get a free kick next to her name against Sargent, who just went a bit too high there on the tackle. Again, using that far side wing to their advantage. And that just sums it up. Short kick that's not executed, out of bounds on the full, and things just getting bad to worse in this last quarter for the whole day off the back of as well.
Ethan, just to jump in, Georgia King sitting on the bench. She's on debut today. You just have her out there, wouldn't you? You're on debut, get all 4 debutantes on the ground at once. I don't really understand that move. Get her out there for the experience.
Especially if a long-term player. Of course, these games are just annual, but if you've got an eye to the future, why not try new things and get those players who want the exposure out there? Quick kick there from Henry. That's intercepted, though, by Boothke from the Eagles, who's been one of these defenders who's had to deal with a lot of the ball coming in. Takes a bounce as well. Tries to go into the corridor. Outside of the boot and standing her ground well was Shepherd. Shepherd can lower her eyes and put it in the pocket of Greenwood. Greenwood, was that a push out? Umpire said it was fair in the end. Trying to come through Falkenberg in the direction of Tentai, but going back with the flight, Henry, who, again, been one of the best out there today. Shannon, a bit too late to the contest in the end with Moon. Under siege as they've been, South Australia, and that ball going to be thrown up once more on the centre half forward.
Moon's been under siege all day, but that was a good contest. She halved the contest there. She made it hard for WA. There hasn't been enough of those examples from the big names from South Australia today.
So Moon unable to reel it out of the ruck. Chance now for WA. But standing in their way there was Alice Tentai. She can't get through the traffic either. The umpire says, I'll have it. 2.5 minutes played in this final quarter. The SANFLW women's team still looking for their first goal of the game. Hit-outs 26-18 in favour of Quafe and WA. Once the tap there, Williams trying to wrestle her way through the tackle. And even look at the endeavour there from Jamie Henry. Tackle was high, but you're 14 goals to none in front, and they're still playing as if their life depended on it. Full credit to WA. Ifold, handball across. Here's Briggy. Her kick forward. Well read there by Jess Freem coming across. Couldn't control it, so it opens the door just for South Australia as they get forward inside the attacking 50. They run on with it now. Took the mark. Anderson handed over to Tentai. She was under pressure straight away. Forced to kick quickly. Loose ball. Still looking for their first goal. South Australia here as Madigan is wrestled to a standstill. Umpire says, I'll have it.
Looked to be the first opportunity for South Australia to really capitalise on the scoreboard. Not to be, but it stays inside their front half for now. Pressure comes for WA in the under.
I think their best bet's going to be Claudia O'Neill taking one out of the ruck, just using her bodies.
Waif had a run of the jump ball by herself. Henry, they can't link up.
But even in that bit of play, when they brought the ball inside 50, there was a degree of not necessarily hesitation, but a little bit of panic. They had it covered then. They had two players onto one. They just needed to handball it off, hit a target, straighten up, 30 out. But they struggled to manufacture that. It's quite incredible. When the confidence isn't in the bottle, it's very hard to come back.
O'Neill having to do the ruck work. Umpire just let her have a pry up and uncontested mark. Looks to be the way of Timmermans, who's another youngster out there on state debut. Not a best kick, but luckily Teakle mobs up for the home side, and likes of Shepherd and Steen combining as they do at Clubland on this very ground for Subiaco. Shannon's got a couple of Pro Eaters to deal with, and one of them who took the mark was Ballard out there. One of two Sturt representatives in this state team goes across the ground. Morgan, and that kick's intercepted, and they can go off to the races here. Britton's just come on, and she can run inside 50, take a couple of bounces, almost run to the tip of the goal square, which she'll do, and she'll kick another goal. About 4 or 5 bounces, could have kept running, low ball, and that just about sums up this state care game today. Holly Britton, the beneficiary of a turnover, which is executed superbly.
Well, John, once again, the danger in modern day football is if you turn the ball over in the corridor, because all the players are running one way, you are going to get badly exposed on the turnover. And you've called plenty of basketball in your time, and that was a genuine fast break, John. And that was the finish that was always going to happen, but 60 metres in the clear. And as you mentioned, Ethan, Holly could have probably walked into the goal square, but that would sum it up. That's got to hurt. The knife in the coffin there.
Yep, that sums up the day completely, doesn't it? You want your team to take it on. I'm sure Narelle Smith, the coach of the South Australian women's team, said at three-quarter time, we've got nothing to lose. Just get out there and give it your best. If you want to try and take something on in the middle, do that. We need to be aggressive. We want to try and play our style of game, but when it comes unstuck, and it's come unstuck, in fact, it's come unstuck right to the way now where South Australia are kicking the ball in the direction that WA is shooting at the moment. So they go forward inside their attacking 50. Petrevsky out the back. Oh, the handball was smothered there. Good work from Kiana Lee. And now the good tackle is applied there. They call play on here. Shannon over the top. Chance for them. And across the face of goal. So through for a minor score. They catch a break there, SA. But things are going from bad to worse. And that's hard to say when you're trailing by 91 points at three-quarter time.
Probably the only bit of play that WA have butchered today. They should have kicked an easy goal on that occasion. At both sides. Comedy of errors, unfortunately.
South Australia out of their back half. West Australia so close to that 100-point mark, which would have been interesting. Jack Schwartz's address at three-quarter time. Of course, they're going to win the game and make their own history in that, right? But to keep a team like South Australia goalless, I think would have been the motivation to really stamp their authority, although they've already done that today. Ball just remains on that far side.
Ethan, the overhead marking of WA today. Interested to get your comments on that after your bit of commentary.
Ball just remaining far side. A couple of players circling it. Quick kick comes out there, accidental soccer there from Morgan, who couldn't quite keep it in the field of play. Luckily for her sake, although umpires have a bit of a consult, and they're just going to come back to bite her with the free kick. So Shepherd, who's been everywhere today, wanted a teammate in Henry who slid in. And again, it's just going to remain on that far side. Their marking has been a bit of an issue, as well as their ball movement in totality. And a bit of a scrap, which can't be separated. Another stoppage applied. So South Australia just want this final siren to come, but they've still got almost 20 minutes remaining to deal with.
Well, they've had a lesson today, South Australia. Winky kicks out of the defensive 50 in one of South Australia's best, but full credit to WA. They have not relented at any stage. They led by 23 points at quarter time, 47 at half time, 91 coming into this last quarter, and they've restricted South Australia to 3 inside 50s since half time. It has been a complete domination from the WAFL women, and full credit to them. It's going to be a richly deserved victory, and one that they will celebrate, and so they should, because this is really thrown a cat amongst the pigeons in terms of state versus state and who is the dominant force in women's football at a state level, because WA at the moment look a class above, and they come forward once more. Centering kick, well positioned there, unable to complete the mark was Lauren Briggy for South Australia. Umpire says I'll have it. So we played almost 9 minutes here in this final quarter, and South Australia still looking for their first goal of the afternoon.
98 points the margin. Henry having to do the ruck work, which she hasn't been exposed to too much in her career. Bit of run and carry. South Australia looking to link up. Playing in front was Webb. Eventually broke out of there. Umpire said too late though, and I'll have it. Jack Schwartz, we mentioned, it's his third year coaching this side, and you dare say he could probably stay as long as he wants on from here, considering the job his side has been able to do today in terms of extensions go. Hand pass received comes out for South Australia, trying to track it is Winky. Boundary line close by, and it'll be a stoppage one way or the other, a boundary throw in. Exactly.
Well, I think we've seen some records set today that are going to stand for a long time in terms of domination in scoring and inside 50s, and records, well, they're made to be broken, but this one is likely to stand for some time when we get to a final margin here, because I cannot recall a game so lopsided for a very long time. And WA, look, their hunger for the contest is still there. This is Jamie Henry around the body, high ball, just couldn't get to the drop zone there to Karina. What about South Australia? Can they find something deep here? On the outer wing, handball, missed the target. Now it starts to open up, pushing away through there, Madigan. Quickly onto the boot, not a lot of direction with it. Kept alive there by Winky, a teenager. Certainly been a highlight for South Australia, her form, along with Alice Tentai, and perhaps Annie Falkenberg, the captain in defence, has held up her end of the bargain. But in terms of wins head-to-head against your opponent, well, South Australia won't have many that they will think that they're ahead of right now. Every WA player has made some sort of contribution. Here's a play on call here. Anderson took the mark, not the required distance. She goes out wide and tracking it back here. Kobe Morgan's taken the mark. She's certainly improved in the second half as well. Centering kick, wanted O'Neill. Missed the target. Again, WA with numbers around it. They can relieve some pressure. Johnson dangerously across goal. It's fallen short. Mark taken by the SANFLW women's team. And the door opens here for their first goal of the afternoon. Well, sorry to get so excited, but I've been waiting to call a South Australian goal since about 10 past 12.
We're going to give you plenty of space to call it too, John. Let's just hope for the game's sake and for South Australia's reputation that it floats through. Good bit of play, make the most of it.
Well, Anderson, a goal kicker against the VFL last month. 3 goals, 3 this season for a club team, South Adelaide. She nurses it through, and South Australia get their first goal after almost 12 minutes of the last quarter.
Yeah, Anderson guiding it through. I mentioned earlier in the call, outside footy. She's a school teacher. And certainly took the chalk to the board there, John, and made sure that was a certainty, although it wasn't the most convincing kick. Doesn't matter, goes down the book as a goal. And most importantly, that duck is broken and the margin is trimmed back to, well, You can't get it 92 points, we know that. But the SANFL, they would have thought that that would have come in the opening 5 minutes of the game, and they've had to wait till this point of time, 1-1-7. But the scoreboard looks a little bit more prettier for South Australia because they were in grave danger of going goalless for the whole game.
Melissa Anderson gets a late consolation prize, and ironically she's kicked the last 2 goals for South Australia in terms of the last goal in that win over the WAFLW, and then the first goal today, of course, very different circumstances. But they are on the board, finally. Here's Harkin. Can West Australia get a quick reply? Not that they need to, but ball remains just outside the centre square. Henry again all over it. So that's the goal from here for West Australia to make it 100 points. Teakle has had to go into the ruck from the fullback position. Moon outsizes her there and goes to that goal kicker in Anderson, who's too far out to score. Inside 50, floating ball over the back, and they get 2 in quick succession here. South Australia, Webb's playing for the holding free kick. She broke clear of her opponent in the end, floating ball, and hacks out of jail. Harkin just waits for it to come her way, sidesteps her opponent, can use the run and carry of Lisa Steen, who keeps it in the field of play, hugging the boundary line, going back with the flight. Brilliant. Good mark there taken by the number 3 from the Eagles. Inside 50, holding her ground well. Anderson having a couple of moments. 10 tight, just couldn't quite pick that up beyond her grasp. And throw a blanket of a few players in there. Eventually, the ball up is the call that's made.
You just see the sheer dominance of Harkin off half-back. Yeah, John, just to jump in, just so strong around the contest and put a bit of fear in the South Australians' eyes today, I would have thought.
Yeah, love the pressure and the courage from Talitha Boothke to go back with a fly to the ball there as well, not knowing what's coming the other way. When you've had a poor afternoon, you're down 90 points and you're midway through the last quarter, the last thing you need is just someone to clean you up as well. So full credit to her for going back with the flight there. Sure, that's something that won't go unnoticed in the post-game chat. Halfpenny restarts. They get it up toward centre-half forward. How about the grab there? Annabelle Johnson, eyes for the ball, strong hands around it as well. Impressive work from her. Subiaco player. Well, she's one of those players that's played AFLW experience, and we spoke about it pre-game that a dozen players, almost 200 games of AFLW experience for WA, and that's certainly been a telling factor here. Strong work, Morgan. She's lifted the intensity since half-time, but going forward, ill-directed kick, and Teakle cuts it out.
Teakle with the intercept there. Just a bit too much over the head of Sargent, but time is on her side, and she can hit up the target further afield in Paige Shepherd. Another former AFL player at the Sydney Swans. All right, John, they have a few out there. Annabelle Johnson, formerly of Geelong and West Coast, who highlighted just before. Moon, courageous effort in the air. Martino comes in for the support, working up the ground is O'Neill. Kick was smothered off the boot. Good circling approach there from Kelly to get the handball out. Britton spending some time across half-forward. The last goal for WA, running into an open goal. Umpire just lets it play out. And no choice but for South Australia to settle for the stoppage.
John, just quickly, is there any players for South Australia today? I mean, obviously the criticism will come for the selection of the side, but is there any players that missed this side that you can think of that deserved the Guernsey?
Look, I think they picked the strongest team, and they did pick a team that they thought would be suitable to the big expanses here at Southern Logistics Stadium or Leaderville. So I'm not sure that you could really look at the selectors, and certainly the chairman of selectors, Phil Aspinall, is one of the smartest minds in women's football, in fact football in general in South Australia, so they would have left no stone unturned. And Narelle Smith, the coach, of course, coaches the Eagles. Since it's Claudia O'Neill from the Eagles has taken the mark here. Now, this isn't beyond her. I know she's just on the painted 50, but she is a massive kick. But I think it's more to do with the way WA, the pressure they brought, the intent that they brought. And we saw it, we isolated it, we mentioned it right in the opening quarter, and they have not let up at any stage either. So Claudia O'Neill's going back here and going to give it a best effort, and a couple of goals to finish with to kick the last 2 of the game if they could. Well, that'd be something for South Australia to hang their hat on, because prior to that, it has been very lean pickings for them. So O'Neill, 14 goals, 5 this season to lead the SANFL women's competition. She kicked a goal in every game she's played so far this season, got it right to the goal face. Kept inboard. Now tangle of arms and legs. WA again 4-2 numbers around the ball, and they're going to win out with that superiority in numerically as Shepherd gets involved as well, and they're outside the defensive 50, looking to get this away from the danger zone.
They get it out of there for now to WA, but it's going to come back in a similar direction, which is something they haven't had to deal with a whole heap today. Sargent on the end of it can spot up Britain, and the synergy has been on full display, despite a lot of these players not playing together in terms of course, opposition when they verse in their respective WAFLW sides. A couple of bites at the cherry there for Shannon. Over the top, Lindgren, the next link in the chain. Good mark taking out in front. Had Sergeant Wilson bypassing her, but elected to not go in that direction. Now, Jamie Harkins drifted forward. She'd love to get on the end of one today. She's had 31 disposals. They'll just switch it up through Johnson. Johnson in the direction of Shepherd. Here is Shannon, who brushes off in the end. Shepherd can size up her options. Low ball, not executed as well as she would like. And Valkenburg has 3 bounces in the end, draws the opponent. And South Australia have run numbers over the top, but that ball executed for O'Neill is chopped off by East Fremantle WAFLW captain Tiani Teakle. Even the defence for WA today, they haven't been required as much, but when they have, they've stepped up.
And they've been able to hit targets as well. They've hit targets, and SA seem to have missed the targets.
So Shepherd, another disposal for her. Couldn't quite hang on the mark, although it is paid to Jamie Henry, who just takes a chance to have a breath. Wants to go in the direction of Greenwood. Greenwood just had to stop and prop her leading for a moment. She'll get the high free kick, which hasn't been the first time today through no fault of her own. Goes in the direction of Shannon, bounces off her chest. South Australia off the outside of the boot. Gonna be first to it is Lee, who brushes off really well in the end. Goes back in board to Williams. Williams is going to be caught, but luckily got a kick out in the nick of time. Fighting from the side is Steen. Bit of back and forth passage of play. Going back with the flight as well was Harkin. Should she cop a high free kick? Certainly could mount a case that she did. It's not going to matter though. It's not going to matter whatsoever. A historic 92-point win for Western Australia. They win their first game against the SANFLW in their short history, and they do it in almost perfect fashion.
Yeah, WA win, and win comprehensively. It's been an extraordinary day of football, as you mentioned. The quarter-time margin was 23 points, and we went to the break at the first quarter-time, or quarter-time I should say. We thought WA may have not put South Australia under enough pressure, John, with a couple of sprayed shots at goal. It didn't matter because 47 points was the lead at half-time, and then it just blew out to the eventual winning margin of 92 points. Across the board for Western Australia, we'll take your pick. There were so many good players that played well. I thought Poppy Stockwell certainly stood out, and that's not only because of her goal kicking. She just iced every moment that she had. There was dominance for the likes of Jamie Harkin, who set things up. Henry again was brilliant, but there was winners all across the ground for WA. Some days, John, you have a bad day, and sometimes they turn into an absolute nightmare. And it seems to me, by the time that bus left its station and with minus 4 players, the day had decided that South Australia were going to be in for a stinker, and that's what I put it down to, because that is not the DNA of the South Australia that I know.
No, a long way short of their best. Full credit to WA, though. That's a record-winning margin, and one that we're going to remember for quite some time. But inside 50 count, unbelievable. 50 to 15 is an inside 50 count, if you don't mind. That was the dominance that they had. SA did their best, but every time they lifted or they tried to grab some momentum, WA just lifted with them. Their kicking efficiency was outstanding. Full credit to WA. That's an outstanding win.
So goal kickers for WA, I'll keep this fairly brief. Stockwell, as we know, kicked 4 goals, was dominant. Greenwood, I thought, was sensational with 3. Britain was classy with 2. The hands of Lindgren, I thought, were also really pivotal today. She took a lot of marks out in front, in the hands. How we want to teach the youngsters, and especially that next crop of young ladies coming through. Petreski, I thought, was outstanding. Possession-wise, all over the ground, kicked a couple of goals. And then Singles for the rest of the WA players. Anderson was the goal kicker there for South Australia. John Casey vacates the box. John, thank you very much for your time. It was great to be part of the coverage. You look like this afternoon for the men's.
Absolute pleasure. I can guarantee the men's game will be a little closer.
Thank you, mate. And you have a safe flight back to Adelaide. John Casey joining us for this women's state game. And he's a busy man. Does a lot of work around the media traps, and it's great to have him here in in WA, I should say. You're losing my bearings. Ethan, we swing to you with the state side for South Australia down to the southern end of the ground, getting warmed up. A tough day, naturally, for South Australia and the women's. They'll be looking to turn around the men's, but WA, we must talk about them and their dominance.
Absolutely, and led by Jamie Harkin, the captain, finished up with 30 disposals, 106 ranking points. Jamie Henry, 32 disposals, 135 ranking points. We sung those players' praises in the pre-game, and they certainly lived up to it, as well as support from Paige Shepherd, who finished up with 28, Lisa Steen, 26, and Isabel Shannon playing more of a role up forward with 21 disposals and 1 goal. And it's going to be really interesting to see who gets the best on ground.
It's going to be very interesting to see who's best on ground. We know that the coach that was best on ground, and just his ability just to make the moves when it mattered. But Jack Schwartz, reflecting on his coaching today, obviously his players really played for him, but some of the moves that he effectively had to make to get this game going and get WA in a position of belief, because I think that's a big thing. We heard John speak a lot about desire from Western Australia today, but belief for me was something that they had to carry through and to get this monkey off their back, and they certainly did that.
Absolutely, and yeah, you get confidence from evidence, and today, it could be a real stepping stone into, hopefully many more performances from this, but we'll cross down to the boundary for the presentation.
The 2026 Kia Women's State Match. A big congratulations also to the umpires in today's match, and congratulates them for being appointed to the state match today, so well done to all of them. As players and coaches and staff, we appreciate and thank all umpires for the contribution they make to our great game. We couldn't do it without them, so thank you so much. I would now like to also call for Jamie Harkin, the captain of the Kia WAFLW state team, to present a match ball to the WAFLW state umpire, Callum Julius Smith, and thank them on behalf of all umpires for the contribution they made to the game of Australian rules. And there's your footy. Thank you so much, Callum. Great job today. We're now going to our best players of the game. Thank you very much, Callum. Thanks, Jamie. We now want to present the best SANFLW player judged for today's game. Would you please welcome Executive General Manager of Football SANFL, Mel Dunding, to present the South Australian player judged best on ground for SA in today's game. The winner of the SANFLW Best on Ground 2026 is Alice Tentar. Congratulations.
I'd just like to say thank you to WA. You guys were lovely today. It was definitely a tough game, and it kind of says that girls
Great job, Alice. Plenty of footy today for South Australia, 4-ball game. We'll now move on to the WAFLW Best on Ground. To present the WAFLW player judge for today's game, please welcome Daniel Fagins, WAFL Life member and also a 6-time West Australian representative, to present the best West Australian player judged, best on ground for WA in today's game. The winner of the WAFLW Best on Ground for 2026, polling all 9 votes, unanimous decision, the captain, Jamie Harkin.
Jamie, a couple of words?
Yeah, first of all, thanks so much to SA. It was still a rip and pop that day, and crap on bucket off that running with that game. But thanks so much for making it through over our game. Yeah, super proud. We wanted to come together and make it today.
Congratulations, Jamie. Might have a case of little tweaking tonight as well. We had a ton of possessions. Well, tonight's a historic occasion for these two sides, so congratulations to all involved who continue to grow a great game. So good for the game at state level. WA would also like to thank and acknowledge Kia Australia for their commitment to Australian football here at WA. Kia is a proud partner of both WAFL and SANFLW, and is the naming rights partner for the Kia State game. On behalf of Kia, thank you for another fantastic state game between these two sides. We would now like to welcome Dixie Marshall, WA Football Deputy Chair, to present the cup. She's pretty happy about it too. And now I'd like to invite up the captain, Jamie, back up again, and of course, the coach of WA, Jack Schwartz.
What do you want, me? Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the WAFLW State Team. They are your 2026 Kia champions.
And a big thank you there to our MC down there in David Berry. Good to see him on the microphone, and of course to prominent media identity there in Dixie Marshall, who presented the trophy to the winning captain, of course, and coach of Western Australia. Jack Schwartz will be absolutely thrilled in his third attempt with WA. He didn't just get West Australia over the line, they defeated South Australia by 92 points. Ethan Roth, of course, for South Australia, their judged best on ground was Alice Tentai, 19 disposals. That's very hard to argue with. And of course, for Western Australia, Jamie Harkin with 30 disposals, a couple of shots on goal, a couple of blemishes, but she was just absolutely outstanding. So I think they got it right.
She casted all 9 votes, so a perfect performance in terms of how the votes panned out, and you could very much make a case she's completed football at the state level. She's now achieved everything. She's got multiple premierships, multiple Daraco medals, best on ground in grand finals, best in fairest, you name it, and now she's got a winning state captaincy title next to her name, as well as best on ground in that game. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Absolutely. And to finish things up, a big thanks to John Casey. Great to have him over here from Adelaide. And he'll be calling the state game this afternoon for the men's, which should be absolutely outstanding here at Sullivan Logistics Stadium. My name is Dan Hobley. I've been alongside Ethan Roth. Ethan, thank you for your time this afternoon. Great call, mate, and hopefully you've enjoyed that. Clearly from a West Australian perspective, we can now say that with John vanishing the corridors, but WA, it's a historic day. There's no words away with their third crack at it, and they finally broke through.
Sure is, and yeah, we're going to remember this day for a long, long time. So yeah, thanks to you as well, being in the commentary and hosting position, and WA for another year at least, 365 days that they're going to savour with that cup in their hands.
Well, congratulations to Western Australia. They have been dominant winners by 92 points. The Sandgropers putting the Crow Eaters to the sword today. A safe trip home for the South Australia. Commiserations to Narelle Smith and the gang down there for SA. Congratulations to Jack Schwartz from the WA camp, and well done to their players. WA far too strong. They win by 92 points. You've been watching the official WAFL YouTube here at Sullivan Logistics Stadium. We look forward to the state game rolling on this afternoon. There'll be a big crowd here for the men's, been a big crowd here for the women's. Stay safe, and we look forward to bringing you more action as we move forward into the afternoon. It's been fantastic to be a part of the broadcast. I'm Dan Hobley. Look after yourself, and bidding you farewell for this afternoon. It's Western Australia by 92 points.
broadcast is brought to you by the all-electric